Hello folks, today we are going to be doing a tribute match to Castro, who recently passed away a few days ago. He was one of the best South American players of all time, and definitely the best Peruvian Zerg player of all time. He won many Zotac Cups, made it to the round of 16 at WCG 2008 where he was knocked out by Stork, but to just make it to the round of 16 and get out of group stages is quite an accomplishment. Not many foreigners actually make it out of groups. He was a Zerg that loved to play the macro style. Me and him had a similar rating on the ladder, so I got to queue versus him quite often, and he really loved to just go for big time swarm play, take tons of bases, play the true style of the Zerg race, just flood units non-stop. He did play in BSL a couple seasons ago, so this is a big loss for the StarCraft community. Again, Castro, absolutely one of the best foreign Zergs of all time. So today we have organized two teams going up against each other, Team Hope versus Team Wish. We've got JDConan, who is actually an up-and-coming South American Zerg player from Bolivia, going up against Father, who is one of the American hopes for the US. He's a Terran player, around 1900 rating. Then we have Chaelyn versus Oyaji, Terra versus Stryker, Bonyth versus Sziky, Dewalt versus Scan. I think everybody probably recognizes all these names, top players in the foreign scene. So this should be a very interesting team match. We also have two special matches included also. Some of the pros even came out to support this match, and it's going to be Shuttle versus Rush and Hero versus Snow. So it doesn't get much better than that in terms of pro games. So let's just get into the casting and get into these games because they're going to be absolutely amazing. So our first matchup, again, Conan versus Father, a Zerg versus Terran on Fighting Spirit. Let's get into it. So in the top right, we have the up-and-coming Zerg player representing South America. It is JDConan. And in the top left, representing Terrans in the foreign scene and American players, it is Father. So Father, he's improved quite a bit over the past few months to a year. I met him at I met him at DreamHack in Canada. I think he was about 1700 or 1800 around then, maybe close to a year ago. And now he's pushing almost 2000 ranks, so he's gotten a lot better in the past few months. He plays pretty standard, pretty solid 2-rack style into 4 racks or 5-rack style. Rarely see him go for mech or any other type of unorthodox play. Meanwhile, JDConan, really, I don't know this player very much. I did look him up on the ladder before casting these games, and he's around an 1800 player, so an 1800 versus about a 1900, 1950 Terran player should be pretty close. I would have to say that Father probably has a slight advantage, but not very much. Now, as I was saying, Father plays pretty standard, so I don't expect to see any type of gas play coming in the next 30 seconds or so. Now Conan, not too sure exactly how he plays. In my experience versus a lot of South American players such as Castro, they love to play the macro style. They love going for 3-hatch, going for a fast third base. So I'm not sure if we're actually going to see something like 2-hatch Muta here. This could be just 3-hatch Ling Muta, 3-hatch Ling Lurker is a potential. So I'll have to wait and see what Conan actually opts for. I'm going to switch the colors here. It looks like we do actually have top versus bottom, so we can get red versus blue. Now Conan being a little bit greedy here, building an extra drone before his spawning pool, but not super greedy, so I don't think he'll really get punished by Father if he was to move out. Now Father, as expected, no gas at the Nat. He did go for a pretty fast scout. Gonna find Conan last, so that's a bit unfortunate. You can see that he's coming close to the side of the cliff to see if the Overlord came from that direction. So since there's no Overlord there, he may actually opt for a cross scout, but instead he is just going to go straight up across the map. This would intercept Lings coming from bottom right, and it would tip him off if a 9 pull was coming. So a very nice scout pattern from father here, and he is going to go to top right now. Now Conan, meanwhile, actually did opt to go for a 2-hatch play. Now this gas timing, I see it completed at 2:47. That means that this was about a 2:20 gas timing, which is a little bit in between 2-hatch and 3-hatch. So that means we're going to have a 3rd hatch coming down pretty soon. Now where does he want to build it? Is he going to build it here in the main? Is he going to build it down here? I've seen a few Zergs actually try and hide it down here, try and disguise that they're actually going for a 3-hatch variation. We may even see an on location 3-hatch. So we are just waiting to see where Conan wants to spend that money. Now the lair has started, and father sees it, and he should know that this lair is a little bit later than a normal 2-hatch. And there we go. Conan is actually going to build an on location 3rd base. So that's going to be a lot of econ for him. And actually, this type of style is very hard to punish, because even if there is only like 1 sunken in lings, it's on high ground. It's going to be very hard for father to push through and bust it, even if he knows it's there. But I'm not even sure father has recognized that this is going to be a hidden 3rd base, simply because he does see that it is 2-hatch gas. Now the drone, ooh, nice moving shot from the drone, intercepts the SCV and kills it. Now father really is in the dark as far as his 3rd hatch. I don't think he suspects that this is a 3rd base, but he is going for 2 racks. He does have his academy coming down at the time that I like, which is about 4 minutes. So he's going to be able to put on some pressure. Bunker coming in. He really doesn't know if Conan's building some lings behind this. Is he all-inning? What exactly is he going for? So I like the bunker coming in from father. He did a good transfer of SCVs. He's got a decent amount down here, 9. Conan, meanwhile, he's got his econ going strong too. He's got good saturation in the main, good saturation in the mat. And with this 3rd base coming up, you know, we see a lot of 3-hatch all-in muta these days in Zerg versus Terran. So for Zerg to just be instantly on 3 gas, this could get ugly really quickly. It's not like you're facing a 5 racks where you have tons and tons of Marines non-stop. It is still only going to be 2 racks into 4 racks. And honestly, 3-hatch muta, non-stop muta, can just run over 4 racks if there's ever a good trade for the Zerg player. There's the 3rd racks for father. He's really nailing his build. He's got 10 Marines, 2 medics coming out. So he's going to be looking to push out right now. Here he comes. Conan sees the move out though. And this is a standard movement, so a standard move out. So in response, instantly 2 sunkens. Spire's not done yet, so this is quite a big move from father right now. We did hear the scan come down. He does see that the Spire's about to finish. Colonies have not finished though. Oh, a run by! 2 Firebats in the bunker, but that doesn't stop the Lings from getting by. He's going to actually have to pull out his Firebats, try and stim and kill these Lings. Now this is buying Conan some time to get his Sunkens up. They do complete in time, and 2 Sunkens are more than enough to kill this Marine Ball, as long as there are mutas that come out and support them. And it looks like he's going to attack right before the mutas pop, but that's going to damage a lot of Marines. Looks like the Sunkens are targeting different Marines now. 4 of them already go down though, and I think actually Conan should be able to hold this. Drone's being pulled. He is easily going to hold this. 1 Sunken gets wiped out, but he's not going to kill any of the Mutalisks. So he trades 10 Marines, 2 medics for 2 Sunkens and maybe a couple drones. Other than that, Conan really didn't lose very much. And remember, he has this 3rd base. It's not really up and running just yet, but he's going to be building some more drones. So that's going to be 3 base econ for him almost instantly. Firebats also get picked off. So big losses from father right now. And honestly, I'm a bit worried because, like I said, this is not a 5 racks play where you can easily replenish your Marine Ball. To lose 12 Marine Medic that easily is a huge win for our Zerg player. Now father, meanwhile, it looks like he's going to be building a factory. He's got his turrets up in his main. He's trying to defend these mutas that are coming in. Conan slowly building up that muta count. It's up to 8. But it looks like father's cutting a lot of SCVs now. He's still got 35, which is decent for 2 bases. But he does need to build a few more SCVs to get his econ a little bit more, rolling more. And we do have Conan with the Hydrogen at the 3rd base. So father, he's probably going to scan bottom right and see nothing and think, wow, maybe this guy's just actually all-inning, and there is the scan, he sees nothing. Now, a lot of Zerg players these days actually build their third base down at the Nat. So he may end up scanning there, and then he's not going to see anything there either, and he's going to be really wondering, am I actually just getting busted? And if he was to scan the main, he doesn't see a Hydrogen anywhere, so he may think it's just pure Muta, but we see that that is not the case. We do have the first couple Hydras coming down. It is only 8 Mutas so far, so this is still a worrisome amount of Mutas, enough to start one-shotting SCVs and a lot of the Terran Bio Ball. Wow, he's killing so many SCVs, and now we actually have a drone advantage for the Zerg player, and there was another scan. It did go off at the third base, so he does see that that is where Conan is getting all of his econ from. But I'm getting, oh no, that was a big mistake. Running over 3 turrets, one of the Mutas gets taken out, second Muta gets taken out. But still, Conan's in an okay position. He still has 5 Mutas, so he can still one-shot a Marine. But that was quite a big loss. Now, is their lurkers done? They are morphing. I think if Father was to stem across the map to the third base, there's an open base at the third, but he's not going to take it. Instead, he is just going to come back, start building up his SCV count. We do see that he has still 33 despite losing a ton of SCVs at his natural, so he's done a decent job to keep his SCV count relatively high, but still he is lacking about 4 to 5 down at the natural. We can see that he only has about 8 mining the minerals there. He's got double starport, so everything is pretty standard. Meanwhile, Carapace coming in for Conan, so it looks like he does want to play that macro style that I was saying Castro generally like to play. Big time Ling Lurker, big time upgrades. He wants to face the Terran army in the center of the map. Now, Father, I think this might be a mistake going for this, but there are 3 isolated lurkers. The 4th one's way behind. He does trade very well, gets 2 lurkers, and there's only 2 Sunkens here, but he's not going to push in. He is just going to retreat for now. Father still very, very low on the SCV count. He needs to be careful because even if he's trading effectively now, 3-base econ is going to kick in, and we see that Conan is even taking bottom right, so that's going to be 4-base econ for our Zerg player pretty soon. He's got his hive coming in. He's got a macro hatch coming up in his main, so everything's looking very strong for Conan. He's got a 7 or 6 worker lead over Father, and all of his bases are saturated pretty perfectly. He's got basically 1 per patch at every single base. Econ is really, really good. Another attack from Father. He is just trying to keep pressure onto the Zerg, but really no chance of that actually working. There's too many lurkers, too many Sunkens. Now Father, what can he really do? He really has to wait for his vessels to come out. For now, Marine Medic really can't bust anywhere. There was an opportunity to bust mid-right at the earlier stages of the game when there weren't any lurkers, but that window has come and gone, and now lurkers are getting set up at the 4th base, and I'm getting really, really worried for Father. It would be different if he had something like 45 SCVs where he's got killer econ, he can start taking third bases, whether it's at mid-left or bottom-left, trying to split the map, but it looks like he's just content staying on 2 bases for now. He has shown his first 2 vessels. I don't see Scourge anywhere. Mutas are still alive, waiting for drops. And as expected, Conan going into heavier upgrades. 2nd evolution chamber coming down. 2nd macro hatch coming down. So he's going to have a ton of unit production pretty soon. And even though the game looks somewhat even right now, this could just be an explosion within the next couple minutes where Conan's econ starts going bananas. Now, this is a window of opportunity for Father. He doesn't realize that there's only 2 lurkers here. Sunken Colony isn't even morphed, so a big misstep, big missed opportunity where he could have potentially just ran up in there and busted this 3rd base. Instead, he is going to opt for a contain outside of the bridges. Now, it looks like he is trying to take a 3rd base, but again, econ extremely lacking for Father. He needs at least 10 more SCVs at this point, because even when this completes, he has nothing to send here to mine it efficiently. But the vessel count is starting to get scary. We're at 4 at the 12-minute mark. There's still no defilers out, which is a bit worrisome. Now the first 2 pop out. Swarm is, or Consume is still not even done yet. But luckily for JDConan, he's got enough defense here where he doesn't really have to worry about getting busted. So Consume should be finished. It looks like there is... Oh, there was a hidden Marine down here, focusing down this Nidus, but it's going to go down. Now, is Father going to go for a drop to try and take out bottom right? He's got 6 vessels right now. He really can't do much other than just sit outside the Zerg base and irradiate for days. Third base has come up, but this is kind of a difficult base to keep and maintain. You have to focus a lot of attention here, and it's so close to the Zerg base that they can easily just Dark Swarm push across the map and just, you know, consistently push the issue there. Now here comes JDConan. He's got Swarm available. He is going to finally push out into the center of the map, get a little bit of relief from those bridges. More vessels coming across for Father. He's got a decent bio count. He's up about 20 supply, but as a Terran player, you're not feeling that confident once Defilers come out and you're only up 20 supply. Also, you're not feeling good when you see 3 base versus 4 base. And we do see double drop for Father, so this is going to be a deadly drop. And if we look at the vision for JDConan, he's got a little bit of vision across the center of the map, but if Father somehow takes an angle right through here, JDConan's going to miss it. But instead, Father flies directly over a Ling, but it looks like there's action out in the center of the map, so I'm not sure if Conan actually realized that that has happened. No fire bats here, so actually Lings and Lurkers will be able to fend off the Marine Medic forever. But this drop went unscouted. There's a Defiler here, but it doesn't have Consume. Father's just going to essentially land right on the Nidus, and is there any defense at the Nidus? No, he can't send anything through the Nidus in time. That's going to be a dead sunken. He focuses down that Defiler. This Nidus is going to go down. No response. Meanwhile, he's attacking at the front too. Father's everywhere, busting the front and the 4th base at the same time. Looks like this might actually be a game-ending move. I don't see Defilers anywhere. I don't see Lurkers anywhere. A couple vessels going down, but the 4th base is 100% dead. Nat is getting obliterated. Lurkers are trying to come down. They have +1 armor, so they can take a beating from these Marines. But, oh, a good flank from the Lurkers from behind. But Father, he spreads pretty well. But it looks like there might just be too much Lurker, or too many Lurkers here. The Bio Ball is going to get taken out and losing almost all of his vessels here. So a good hold from Conan, but he does lose his 4th base. Now, Father still has his drops here. It looks like he's going to load up and probably drop onto the 3rd base. We see another scan went down at bottom left to make sure that Conan has not taken this base. So this was a big move from Father to take out the 4th base. It has now evened up the bases, but still the SCV count is extremely low. 34 across 3 bases, not even mining all of his mineral patches in the main. Meanwhile, Zerg is still okay. 3 base versus 3 base. He's got 3 gas also, but this drop again is going to deal a lot of damage. It's only 4 Marines, but they're going to wipe out all of the mutas. The vessel count has been rebuilt up to 3. More irradiates going down. What's also lacking in Father's army is there's no fire bats. He has so much gas. If he had like 10 fire bats, he could potentially bust through these couple Lurkers and Ling. Lings are trying to help defend this Marine drop, but the positioning of the Marines are immaculate. Father just sitting here dealing so much damage. Ultra Cavern has been completed. Looks like JD has +2 armor, so he's actually matching the upgrades of Father. +4 Ultras when they come out would be really strong. Finally, this Lurker is probably going to end up wiping out these Marines. No scan, so that's going to be a wipe. But there's really not a lot of defense. A Fire Bat bust would have been amazing. He needs these in his army, and he could end this game. But as played, Conan is going to survive for now. His econ is lacking at the natural, but the first few Ultras have popped out. He's extremely starved on gas. Looks like he may be building some expensive gas units right now. Yeah, a couple more Defilers coming out. Only 3 Ultras though. And now Terran actually has an okay SCV count, 41 across 3 bases. Not the best, but not the worst. He's done a good job to keep his vessel count pretty high. It's at 5, 6 now actually. So he can irradiate for days. And I'm just worried that Conan now doesn't have enough of these strong gas units in the Ultras and the Lurkers and the Defilers to actually fend off a Marine ball with this count of vessels. It's at 6. 4th base hasn't been retaken for Conan. It looks like he's a bit too worried to be taking a 4th base. He wants to just make sure he doesn't die here. Now, a Plague would be amazing if he can land it. Ooh, they're all clumped up. But instead, he casts a Dark Swarm. And now that there's Fire Bats mixing in this army, Father may just actually push in here and win. Now, that was a huge plague, hitting about 20 units. And because of that one plague, Father is going to back off for now. Now, where did those vessels go? Okay, there they are. They still have quite a bit of energy. There's three irradiates available, soon to be 4. He could irradiate literally every single lurker here and one of the defilers. Now back in Father's main, he's got 8 Raxes, so his macro's crazy. He just needs to start pumping out more units, get more SCVs. Again, he really needs to get more and more SCVs. 40 is very low. He has started to take his 4th base at bottom left, but we can see that the supply gap is starting to get huge for Terran. It's 145 to 90. Zerg at +4 armor hasn't started +3 armor. Another big plague right there, blanketing a lot of the Terran army. Now meanwhile, I think Father has started +3. Ooh, he actually finished +3, so a big power spike for him if there's ever a fight that doesn't have to deal with Dark Swarm. These plagues are dealing a lot of damage. It looked like Conan wanted to go out again for another one, but he needs to get up a consolidated army. 100 supply versus 140. Honestly, Zerg can win that fight if he has good Dark Swarms. But the army just looks so tiny. I'm wondering where all of his supply actually is. There's another Dark Swarm right there. There's another plague, and that is a juicy plague on top of all the vessels. He still has 2 Mutalisks alive, so if he can suicide one of these vessels to just, or one of these Mutas to just pop all of the vessels, that would be a big win for him. More Scourge coming in. It looks like only one of them's going to connect, and instead, Conan is going to lose the majority of his army. This Ultra is also going to go down, but a lot of this Bio Ball is extremely weak from the plague. Lings are going to clean up some of the Bio Ball too. Vessels are so low. I'm waiting for one of these Mutas to just come in here and pop all 5 of these vessels at once. Conan's starting to take bottom right. You can see that his macro's slipping a little bit. He's got 1,600 minerals. Needs some more macro hatches. Ling, Lurker, Ultra Defiler. Such a killer combo if you can land the swarms. Father, he is just being patient. He does want to irradiate all of these lurkers, but he's got to be careful of this spore that'll one-shot all of these. Oh, no, he can't do that. One vessel gone, 2, 3. Oh, he almost got all 5 of the vessels, but really nice trade there. 1 Muta for 3 vessels. And now, oh, actually, BCs are coming out for Father. I was going to say he's going to have to replenish his vessel count, but instead, he's opted for BCs, and this is going to be a good move for him because Zerg does not have +1 armor. So the Scourge will still be one-shotted by a BC shot. Bottom left, factories and barracks have come up for Father. He's just now started to get his SCV count going up there, but he needs to transfer his main SCVs now. Conan's doing a good job just surviving with this Dark Swarm and Lings and Plague. Father really hasn't been able to break him, but I think now that the BCs have come, this is going to be a turning point for him. But as I say that, here come a decent amount of Scourge. They should all die here. To land, Dark Swarm is available, so Conan should be able to Dark Swarm his drone line. He does need to Plague these also. Here comes the Dark Swarm, so he's going to save all of his drones for now, but it is annoying to deal with these battle cruisers. Meanwhile, that does leave the entryway open, but Conan has his 4th base up and running now too. He's got his 4th gas coming up. He's got Nidus set up so he can transfer some drones over there. Spore is going to fall to the BCs, I think, but not after taking a juicy plague there. So he may actually be able to kill one of these BCs. Does get one. So 1 BC is a lot, or 1 BC is much weaker than 2 BC. 2 BCs can kill so many Scourge, but now that there goes the 2nd BC, and BCs are extremely expensive. Looks like we have a misusage of the SCVs at the natural for Father. Just SCV mining has been a disaster for him. Idle SCV up here. Really not the greatest econ for Father this game. Lack of SCVs here. Tanks are coming out bottom left. But Conan's econ is not exactly the greatest either. He's got 4 bases, but the lack of drones at bottom right is really crippling Conan from exploding. Still 100 supply to 144. Father still has a handle on this game. But again, if Conan can get his econ going, that's one way to do it. Build 7 drones at once and get bottom right up and running. He can really explode in terms of army pretty fast. Another juicy plague on top of these Marines. The Defilers and Lurkers have just done so much damage. The vessel count, after losing those 5, really has not been replenished. Another BC being built for Father. He's up to 2 right now. 3rd one coming up. Another Darkstorm's going to save these drones. Looks like the 4th base still not really mining for JDConan. Muta came out, thought it was a weak vessel, but it's actually not. It's taken out easily. Now, what's worrying for Zerg now is 3rd gas is getting close to being mined out. Nat gas depleted. Main gas depleted. So really, this is basically 2.5 gas Zerg. And at this point in the game, Zerg is not scary when they're only on 2.5 gas. It's scary when Zerg is on 3, 4, 5 gas. Now we do have a decent supply lead for Father. He's got tanks coming out at bottom left. He's at 160 supply to 95. It looks like just Conan hasn't been able to get anything really consolidated and going for him. Another BC might actually fall here. Scourge are gonna get 3 connections on it, and this spore is actually gonna get wiped out. So the BC play from Father really did almost nothing. Now Conan finally getting out on top of the map now that Father has moved out of position. And like I said, this is a very close base. Dark Swarm with just 4 Lings is going to wipe out this base potentially. Ultras intercept Marines in the center of the map. But remember, the Ultras are only +4 armor. So the +3 weapon Marines should be able to take them out. Father, instead of trying to kill bottom right, ends up turning around. The Lurkers and Defiler defense down there, I guess, a little bit too much for him. Remember, he's lacking on vessels, and he doesn't know how many Lurkers are actually under the Darkstorm. But that leaves the Nat vulnerable. But there are 5 Lurkers set up. There's Darkstorm right there. Ultras in position too. Now, there still are a lot of irradiates available. There really needs to be a plague right now. He's got to get the energy. He needs to consume, but he doesn't have 100 or 150 energy. So the Marine Ball does breach the Nat, but the 3rd base from Father has been breached also. It has been ransacked, but it looks like Father's got his eyes set on mid right now. There's no Lurkers in position. JDConan repositioning right now, but it's only 1 instantly pops. But these 3 Ultras and Lings dealing a considerable amount of damage to Father. The 3rd had to be floated. Command Center may even just burn down. Supplies have gotten a little bit closer now, 130 to 100. This has also alleviated pressure for JDConan at the natural. So he may be able to get up a sizable army into the center of the map. He's desperately trying to save mid-right, but honestly, this base is close to mined out. He should probably just give it up. It looks like he wants to trade anyways. Medics on the ramps on hold position, dealing a lot of damage, messing up the Ultra AI. Now, JDConan does see that Father has mid-left, or bottom left I mean. So he's not going to be feeling too good about that, knowing that Father actually has 4 bases. But this command center might actually burn down. There's tons and tons of Marines from Father. He's got 8 barracks, still 130 supply to 70. JDConan's going to start taking his 5th base down at the natural. Father has so much gas. Would really love to see him just queue like 2 or 3 vessels in each one of these starports. The battle cruisers really didn't work out at all this game, yet he's continuing to build them. Now another Ling counterattack to bottom left, but there's so many tanks here, there's no way that that's actually get damage done. Father has done a good job to build his tank count up here consistently. He's got 9 of them, or 8 of them, just sitting and waiting. Here come Lurker, Ling, Defiler. Gotta cast Dark Swarm though! He doesn't cast it! That's because there was an attack at the natural. Father loses his entire army, but it's okay, because at least he's not going to lose bottom left. And now the supplies are 130 to 60. This might just be too much of a deficit for JDConan to overcome. The command center did actually burn down at top middle. So it is actually really pretty much 1 base mining for Father versus 1 base mining for Zerg. And Zerg actually does have the 5th base coming up. He is transferring drones, so for now, his econ is going to be better than the Terran, but the army value is very low for Conan. It's extremely lacking. There's no consolidated army. I don't see a Defiler anywhere. It's just Lings. And remember, Conan's only on basically 1 gas now with the main and Nat mined out. So he's extremely low on gas. He can build about 3 Ultras and that's it. And this might be the killing blow. Lurker is set up in position with the Defiler, but it doesn't have energy. There's 3 vessels here. One of them has a radiate available. There goes that Defiler. He's going to take out the lurker before the consume. Oh, and the Defiler ends up going down, so this is a dead base. There's no more lurkers set up in position for JDConan, so he is falling apart. BC at the natural now, finally getting a bit of damage done. 5 kills so far, wiping out some of these lings. And now, really, what can JDConan do? All he can really do is go bottom left. And there's already a defense there, so I think this is just going to be the game-ending move from Father. Really, really chaotic game. A lot of pressure from Father, putting on pressure at the net. Attacking bottom right at the same time. And that's going to be a dead Nidus. Dark Swarm comes up. Not at the right moment. I don't even know if Father has siege mode. But it doesn't matter. This is hilarious. What's he going to do? I hope he erasers the drones. Because he can't kill the drones right now. The Dark Swarms are saving. Okay, there's the AoE splash. I was waiting. And now, drones are just getting eviscerated. 51 supply to 140 for Father. There's just nothing left for Conan. He only has lings. He's gas starved. He can build a couple more ultras, and that's it. He was never able to get up to +3 armor. Such a key breakpoint versus Terran Bio. And it looks like Father's going to be our first player to take a victory. Lings are just streaming across the map, but really there's nothing left. There's just too much Terran. Marines are going to be able to hold this Ling attack. Another Dark Swarm attack going to top middle. Now, if he was to break this, Terran would be down to 1 base mining again. But Zerg just doesn't have any bases. He's scrambling to get up mid-right. It's already basically mined out. There's about 2,500 resource or minerals there, so really not a lot there. Not even really worth taking. Command Center is actually going to die to these Lings. He just straight up dies. The Lings just pummel it down. But the army of Father is huge. No lurkers, gas starved, no ultras either, no defiler. It's just Lings. And Father has found mid-right, so that's going to be a dead base. Really, we are just waiting for Conan to tap out here. There's just too much Father, too much econ for him. Well done from Father. He's got upgrades on his tanks too. He's got almost 3-3 on his bio. So the multitask from Father was really good, taking out bottom right and attacking the nap at the same time, and just really relentless assaults onto the bridges of Conan, really never giving him any breathing room to actually get out onto the map and get in control of the flow of the game. Father was in control of the entire game. There was only, what, 2 moments where Conan actually was able to do something in the center of the map, and that's when he busted top middle. Other than that, he really didn't get any consolidated army to bottom left. He didn't have any fight in the center of the map that went well for him. Really just a real good job from Father to just keep the Zerg player contained in his main for the majority of the game, limited the amount of bases that Zerg actually had, and then took bases of his own. And this is so many tanks. This is like 20 tanks for Father. He's being very patient here. Tyler comes in, and this has to be it. There's just nothing. There's 1 ultra. BC coming in again. He sees that the Nat's not even mining. He knows that JD has no bases, so this is just any moment now. Father is going to take this. BC falls again. The BCs did almost nothing this game, so would really like to see more vessel play from Father the next time I actually spectate him. BCs, even though the Zerg player didn't have armor for the majority of the game, BCs just did absolutely no damage. And here we go. 6 Lings, an Ultra, and a Dark Swarm, and a Dream. And that Dream is dead, because there goes that Ultralisk, and there's just nothing left. So GG. Father is going to be our first player to take a game. And that is going to put Team Wish up 1-0. So our second game is going to be Chaelyn versus Oyaji. I have played both of these players on the ladder a decent amount. Chaelyn's pretty good Zerg. Oyaji also a pretty good Protoss player. And they are similarly ranked around the 2200 to 2300 range. Chaelyn, just like JDConan, tends to play a big time macro play in my experience. A lot of macro hatches, does open with 2 hatch quite a bit, not necessarily going for 3 hatch every single time. And Oyaji, in the past year, I thought he was mostly a big time aggressive Protoss player, but in BSL he showed that he does have the ability to play passive, just play straight up. So you really don't know what to expect when you're playing versus Oyaji. He could proxy 2 gate, he could just play Forge Expand. I'm really not too sure exactly how he wants to play. Now, our map is Eclipse, and this is one of those maps that I originally thought would be kind of favored for Zerg in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, because the third base is very hard for Protoss to get. Its mid left over here, fourth base is up over here. If you want to start taking the bottom bases, it is considerably far away from the natural. And the one thing that is strong for Protoss is that all the bases do have high ground. So once you are able to secure a base, you put a Reaver or some Storm up there and a couple Zealots on hold position, Zerg's not breaking it. It's just like an impenetrable fortress. But it is hard to get these bases. Now Chaelyn, what does she want to go for? Looks like we may actually have a 12 hatch from Chaelyn, and that is exactly what we're seeing. Meanwhile, Oyaji is setting up for either a Forge Expand or 12 Nexus. May even see an 11 Nexus, which is what we've been seeing more often these days. A lot of players are going for the 11 Nexus. It does allow you to get up a Forge and Cannons in time in case they actually go for a pool first build. But you are sacking a lot of econ. Now, in the modern Protoss versus Zerg, I see more players going for delayed second gas, as opposed to about a year and a half ago, where almost every single Protoss player was getting second gas at around 25 supplies. So even though Protoss is hurting their econ quite a bit going for an 11 Nexus here, I'm assuming that he's going to delay his nat gas and catch up that way to get back those minerals that he's losing in the early stages of the game. Now Chaelyn comes in here and sees that it is a 12 hatch. We do have pool coming in for Chaelyn. Now if it's going to be a normal play, there it is. It's going to be a 230 gas. So this is going to be lair play, but this drone probably going to be putting a third hatch down at top middle. But everything so far looks like that this is not going to be 973. This should just be standard lair opening from Chaelyn. Now Protoss came in and saw the gas timing, so he should know that this is just going to be standard lair. Gateway follow-up, cannon coming in. Honestly didn't really need the cannon, but I'm not too sure of the probe scout timing. I don't know if he got there in time to actually decide whether he could have built a gate or a cannon. But regardless, Oyaji has a fantastic opener, getting up his Nexus extremely quickly. He's got good saturation at the nat already, good saturation at the main too. Now probe does find top middle, and not going to risk going for a cannon rush up here, which I think you could do if you basically walled off here and here. But that does... Oh, I'm so surprised that Chaelyn's actually going to let this probe get back into the main, because she could have just held position on the ramp and left Protoss in the dark. But as I said, the 230 gas really does tip you off that this is most likely going to be lair play. Now back at Oyaji's main, because he opened with the very quick Nexus, he's able to actually build his cybernetics down on the low ground, get it up extremely quickly, so his Sair is going to be much faster than usual. Didn't have to wait for the second pylon to complete before building the cybernetics, so this should be a Stargate pretty soon. And a little bit surprising to me, he is actually going into a fast second gas. Now it may just be one probe at a time for now to just catch up a little bit in terms of the gas. You can see that Oyaji is still a bit low. That is a goon being built. Probe is still alive too, so he sees exactly what's going on. Looks like he may be using this goon to catch the Overlord. Now this +1 weapon timing, super fast. This means that it started at around 4:05. So that's probably going to be a second, third, fourth gate coming in pretty soon. May actually go for an attack without even getting speed. I still don't see Citadel or Stargate anywhere, but the fact that this +1 weapon is so fast, yeah, there we go. Gateway's coming down. Now this is, I did see a goon. Yeah, there it is. It is actually going to get this Overlord for free. And then this Overlord's also going to get got for free. So 2 Overlords are going to go down for Chaelyn. Really nicely done from Oyaji. And a big mistake from Chaelyn. A double supply block going to be coming in. And that's going to be huge. Now the Spire is already halfway done though. So I'm not too sure about this gate timing. Unless it's actually going to be for like Zealot Archon. But because there's no Citadel, I don't think it's going to be Zealot Archon either. It is just going to be for mass goons. Now this is a style that you really don't see that often, but it is super strong. We saw like several years ago on Heartbreak Ridge where Movie ended up going for 5-gate goon, and it's a super powerful timing because goons are actually surprisingly strong, especially when they're upgraded. So if Oyaji is going to go for a mass goon timing, I think that he needs to get at least 2 more gates. 5 is a good number, maybe even 6. He's got really, really good saturation at his natural. He's got really good saturation at his main. Already at 40 probes. So basically, he's already fully saturated on 2 bases at this point. Meanwhile, Chaelyn's struggling. Can't even saturate the 3rd base just yet. Remember, got double supply block, so had to spend 200 extra minerals on Overlords. 4th hatch just now starting. And because of how Zerg players like to build their hatcheries, forward hatches can easily get picked off by goons with range. So I would really like to see 2 more gates right now from Oyaji. He does have cannons coming in to make sure that he doesn't die to Muta harassment. And I don't think Chaelyn's going to be able to deal any damage. She should consider switching into Hydras once she sees that these are actually goons being built. Now she does see multiple goons there. Does have only 4 mutas, so this is actually, oh there we go, there's the 5th one. 5 is the magic number to start one-shotting probes. I thought she actually only built 4, and that would have been a big misstep to only build 4. Now the goon count is starting to get relatively high. It is at 7. Zealots are starting to come out. There's a 4th gate. Oyaji up to 48 probes already. Now that is way more than enough for 2 bases. He needs to start putting down some gates now. He's already got +2 weapons started, which is a deviation from the norm these days. A lot of players are going for +1 armor as their follow-up. There are those gateways that I was expecting to be coming down. 6 gate for Oyaji right now, and it looks like Chaelyn still is not realizing what's actually going on. Because 5th hatch has just now started. Okay, now she does. Now a bunch of Hydras are starting to get produced. But the econ, really lacking. Doesn't even have 1 drone per patch here. Only 29 drones for Chaelyn. I just don't think she's actually going to have the production to stop Oyaji. Those 2 Overlord kills were huge. He's got 7 gate. He's got Storm. He's got speed coming in. Well, actually, he doesn't have Storm. He's instead morphed an Archon. So I think the 1 Archon is a smart move. In case there is a big Ling flood, you do need some type of support to deal with the Lings, because they can chew up goons relatively quickly. And this is an interesting, interesting gas mining from Oyaji. He has now finally put 3 onto gas in the main, 3 onto gas at the natural, and he's up 40 supply already versus Chaelyn. It's 110 supply to 60 at the 9-minute mark. I just don't know how you can actually stop this. 57 workers for Oyaji, that's obviously very good once you get a 3rd base up and running, but I don't know if he needs this much, because now this is actually cutting into his army. Instead of it actually being like Chaelyn is at 69 supply, it's actually like she's at 96. So 96 to 113. This is okay for Zerg. The standing army is pretty strong, and there is a lack of Storm here. Now the Hydras are split up. You know, here comes Oyaji. He is just going to barrel down onto these Hydras, but actually they're getting funneled up, and now they're going to get surrounded from the back. Oyaji misstepping here. He's going to lose all of his goons. The Archons are in the front, and they're just getting blasted by these Hydras. Archons are trying to come from behind and deal with these mutas. Now they're doing a good job dealing damage to mutas, but there's an overwhelming amount of Hydras, and Oyaji just throws his entire army away. Went right before +2 weapon also, so a big anti-timing there. And behind it, there's no third base coming down. I don't see a third base coming up at, or it looks like there actually was a third base coming up at mid left, but this one Ling denied the probe. So really nicely done from Chaelyn to have a Ling in position during that attack. And now actually Chaelyn has a lot of units. The 32 worker difference actually evens up the supply, 104 to 99 basically. And this is Hydra versus Zealots. Now the one thing that the Zealots have going for them is they do have +2 weapon, but this is so many Hydras. That's going to be a dead gate. That's going to get popped right before the Templar pops out. Forge is also going to get popped. And now there's still no Storm. It looks like he doesn't have the Storm upgraded at all. Yeah, it's not done. So this Templar is just sitting here and waiting and can't cast at all. There goes a couple cannons. There's only 2 remaining. And Oyaji, who is in a dominant position, is actually just going to get blindsided by all of these Hydras. The cannons are doing work though. They are shutting down so many of these Hydras. But he cannot lose this Forge, because once the Forge goes down, there's no backup Forge. And meanwhile, Oyaji not prioritizing the right thing at the right time. He's building more probes. He's at 70. He needs units. The Forge is going to fall. Pylon falls. I don't even know if this is going to be powered cannons right here. But Chaelyn has breached the net. Now Storm is available, just waiting for a little bit more energy to cast onto this big group of Hydras. And he does now have a good Storm right there. But remember, we saw that Protoss got +2 weapon instead of +2 armor. So these Zealots are actually going to be taking a beating from these +1 weapon Hydras. Now meanwhile, Chaelyn hasn't built a single drone in the past few minutes, just spamming out more and more Hydras. Now we see the drone cycle starting to come in. And I think Chaelyn has actually done it, because even if she doesn't win right now, because of how many workers Protoss has, he's going to mine out in like the next minute and a half. And we don't see a third base in sight. He really needs to get mid-left up and running, or bottom middle. But bottom middle is so far away, you really don't want to take that base. Now we have Zerg on 40 drones across 3 bases. It's honestly pretty good. You've got 1 per patch, or 1.5 per patch. It's a decent amount of workers for 3 bases. Now 70 probes, that's good, but he's going to be on 1 base mining very soon. So Oyaji really needs to not just expand to mid-left, but also get top left up and running, because he's going to be back on 1 base pretty soon. Also needs to start building some more Templars. Now remember, because he went Goons, there's no Sares, and we do see that Chaelyn looks like she may be going into a Muta switch. That's exactly what she's doing. So she'll be able to pick off these Templar very easily, because there's really no anti-air. And Mutas can fight Dragoons heads up. So I think that what Chaelyn needs to do, just get up a group of Mutas, get a huge Hydra ball, and then just run Oyaji over. There won't be any Storms available. She's got 9 Mutas right now. I'm not too sure what the number is to one-shot a Templar. It looks like it is actually 9 to one-shot a Templar. So this is the perfect number for her. Here she comes with those Mutas, and I don't think Oyaji's expecting this at all. But oh, she's gonna find the Templar. There's one. Oh, ran into one of the Storms. That was a really good Storm from Oyaji, actually. Even though he's gonna lose the majority of the Templar, does manage to soften up most of the Hydras now, or most of the Mutalisks. Now this is a lot of Zealots and a lot of Goons. So actually, I think Chaelyn needs to back up for now. Doesn't have critical mass just yet. It is still 145 to 95. But with 6 hatch production, that supply from Zerg should catch up pretty quickly. +2 weapon is halfway done. Third base did get up for Oyaji just now, but you know he needs to get a 4th base up, and he knows that too. He's got a probe in position at top left. Looks like he's going to try and take bottom middle at the same time in case top left can't get up and running. Ling finds it instantly though, and that probe might actually die. That is going to be a dead probe, so that's going to be a denied 4th base. I wonder if he's going to try and take this one now. But it looks like the game is actually going to stabilize for now, 155 to 105. Chaelyn's still on lair tech, so there's still no powerful hive upgrades coming in for her. But she is down +3 weapon to +1. Mutas are trying to find some isolated Templars. Now the goons are actually getting up to a scary number. It's like 16 to 20 goons. The Zealot count is relatively high too, even though there's not very many Templars. There still are 3 of them, and they each have a Storm. And because of how many... Oh, that was a good Storm. Got a lot of mutants there. And actually, it looks like Oyaji may just, in this game, his supply is just way higher than Chaelyn's now. And now he can send the Zealots into the third base while also denying the Nat reinforcement. There's a good Storm. Hits a bunch of Hydras there. Yeah, it looks like Chaelyn just doesn't have enough. She went for a counterattack at bottom middle, but one goon is holding strong. Looks like bottom middle is going to be denied, but instead she's going to trade, losing her entire army and also losing her third base. Fourth is going to be denied too. Look at this goon count, just massive. Has +3 weapons, so they're hitting like trucks. Zealots look like they're not going to get the third base from Chaelyn, but does deny the fourth base, and actually the fourth base does get up and running for Oyaji. And remember, he has so many probes, he can easily saturate this base. And Chaelyn doesn't really know what she should do. Can she deny bottom middle? Does she have to stay here and fight? And it looks like she does have to stay here and fight because Oyaji is relentless. He's right in front of her natural, and this is so many goons. Actually, so many goons. Hydras are doing a good job. A big flank from the back, but... Ooh, got the Templar. But there's just too many goons at this point. Remember, they have +3 weapons. Zerg has +2 weapon kicking in, but I don't think it is enough. There's just an overwhelming amount of goons. There's still 20 remaining, and with the Nat breach, it looks like it is GG any moment now. There's just not enough Hydras, and Oyaji is streaming across the map some more Zealot goons and Templar. It went down one of the hatcheries for Chaelyn, so this is going to be a victory for Oyaji any moment now. GG. Nicely done from Oyaji. I was a bit worried when he had 70 probes versus 30 workers, but that's going to be another victory on the board for Team Wish. So all they need now is one more win, and they're actually just going to take this series. So our next game is going to be Stryker versus Terror. Let's get into that one. Zerg versus Terran. So, and every game so far has had a Zerg in it. Here we go. We've got ZVT on Polypoid. Polypoid, one of the new standard maps in the current ladder. And honestly, I'm really hoping that this map replaces Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit is a good map. I have no issues with Fighting Spirit, but it's turning into the Python of the modern era. And Polypoid, I think, would be a good replacement. There's nothing really difficult about it other than, I guess, taking your mineral only. It's kind of similar in the sense of, I think it's Sniper Ridge, where there's high ground right outside of your nat, but it's not as punishing as Sniper Ridge, where it's literally right outside. You actually have a bit of real estate to put up a siege, a line of tanks in siege and try and take it, or, you know, group up all of your units and push up with like Zealot, Goon, Storm. So I think it's a really good map. Now Terror has decided that he wants to end this game because this is an 8 Rex, and this is going to be a forward 8 Rex, and it is right in the direction of Stryker. So this may be a very quick game because we know Terror loves to 8 Rex, and we know he has a lot of experience 8 Rexing. He's definitely going to be very good with it. And Stryker, you know, now that I'm in Korea, I face 8 Rexes a lot more often on the ladder as opposed to when I was in NA. In NA, you almost never get 8 Rex, at least not in Terran versus Terran. And I know Zerg versus Terran is a different matchup, but I'm just saying overall, foreign players generally aren't as aggressive. And if this is a 12 hatch, Stryker's in trouble. We already saw JDConan pop an extra drone before building his pool. Now, I'm not too sure if Stryker's one of those players that does that, but if he does, that's going to be bad news bears for him. It looks like he is respecting that this is Terror. He could potentially 8 Rex, so he's not going to get greedy and build an additional drone. But this barracks is already done. Spawning pool is going to be just now starting. And with the 8 Rex being so close to the Zerg's base, Stryker's in big time trouble, but at least he is going to find this Rex instantly. Ooh, he runs in, and even though this drone might die, he does get off 4 shots onto the Marine. So that's a considerable amount of damage for free, really. The drone is just going to turn around and heal up. Now this might have been a bit of a quick pull from Stryker. Now the biggest thing for Stryker right now is he has no vision to drill on anything. He really needs to move this Overlord into position up here, so at least he can try and drill in that direction. Now he is trying to move out into the center of the map and intercept these Marines, but honestly, versus an 8-Rex, you need to pull everything except for 3 drones. And instead, Stryker's not respecting the 8-Rex, and I feel like that this game's just going to end, because three Marines and 1 SCV can deal so much damage. And he's not even all in with this 8-Rex. He's got Factory coming up behind this. Bunker's in a nice position. It's going to, yeah, this is a dead hatch. Well, maybe not a dead hatch because Lings are going to pop out, but this has already done way too much damage. It's going to pop a drone there. Pops 2 drones. Lings, oh, looks like the Marines actually glitched out a bit. Weren't moving in sync. But he does manage to get into the bunker. Now, Stryker should realize that this is not Marine Medic play. Because when you go for Marine Medic, you consistently build Marines nonstop. When it's gas, there's only 3 Marines every time. So he should know that this is tech play. But as played, I don't see a single sunken colony coming up. We see that Stryker is going for Massling, which honestly is not a bad move versus tech. But he's going to need to build up a lot of Lings, and he may actually have to just try and win the game with this, because we see Terra's actually going into starport play. And yeah, Terra realizes that this is Massling, so he turns the Vulture around, probably just going to hold position on the ramp and put some SCVs in front of it to make sure he doesn't get busted. But once the Wraith comes out, he can just kill Overlords for free. There's nothing here that can stop Wraith. There's no Hydrogen, just now started mining gas. Drone even falls to an SCV. Nothing going right for Stryker this game, and there are those SCVs on hold position behind the Vultures. So Terror, there's no way he's going to get busted here. This 1 SCV being a menace in the mineral line actually forces a full drone pull in the main base, and Stryker sees the bad news that 3 SCVs are in position, 3 Vultures are in position, and what does he do now? This has to be a sunken colony, but he also needs a Hydrogen. It looks like he doesn't suspect that this is gas play despite seeing no command center, or doesn't seem like he suspects that this is Wraith play despite seeing no command center. Now it looks like Terra is just not gonna relent. He's got speed coming in for these Vultures. This is gonna be a dropship coming in too, and Stryker, that's gonna be a dead Overlord. Still no Hydrogen, no evolution chamber. He can kill every single one of these Overlords. And he even saw the second Overlord here. So that's going to be a dead Overlord. That's going to be dead Overlord number 2. Lings can't get in. Yeah, this is probably just GG. Stryker has nothing. Even if Hydra comes out, it doesn't matter. All the Overlords are going to be gone. He's supply blocked. He can't even build Hydras right now. It's going to be a dead drone. Yep, just GG. So Terror takes an easy victory over Stryker. And that is going to give Team Hope a win and put them on the board. It is now 2-1 in favor of Team Wish. So let us get into game number 4. It's going to be Bonyth versus Sziky. And now we are starting to get into some big name players. Sziky played in a time after I had already quit and gone to StarCraft 2 and then quit that. So I'm not too up to date with how Sziky was in the past, but from what I've read, he was just a dominant Zerg player. And everybody knows Bonyth right now. Bonyth, easily the best Protoss player, easily the best foreign player right now, winning multiple BSLs and making it look easy. So this should be a good match, because Sziky did play at the last BSL, and when he went unpunished, he had like 7 hatch Zerg on 3 bases. Like, he had a ridiculous amount of units. So I'm really hoping that we get a slugfest here. Now we are on to circuit breakers, and we do know that Bonyth loves his gateway expand. We've been seeing more and more players these days, not just in the foreign scene, but also in the pro scene. Almost every game you see gateway expand as opposed to forge expand. But it looks like Bonyth is potentially going to go for a Forge Expand. He is scouting really fast with his first probe. We don't have a second probe going down to the net just yet. So this does look like it is going to be a Forge Expand or on another 11 Nexus. We do have Overpool for Sziky. So this is going to be the real test for me. If this is an 11 Nexus, it's not, because it's going to be a Forge. But I was really wishing that this was an 11 Nexus, because I would like to see if 11 Nexus with a fast scout could actually hold an Overpool, because I'm not actually sure if it can. So Sziky is just playing pretty much the standard EVP. Overpool, safe versus everything. Pretty good versus Gateway Expand too. And we know that Bonyth loves to go for Gateway Expand. Now this drone is going to be hidden, and the pro is going to see it and block it. So Sziky a little bit too fast on the gun, and actually the probe got the first shot too. So this drone is going to die. Oh no, that's a massive loss for Zerg to lose a drone in the early stages like this. And now he can even pylon block this if he wants, but he's not going to. Just gonna try and be annoying with this drone, or with this probe. Oh, actually the moving shot was immaculate. So Bonyth is gonna lose his probe too, and now Lings are out, where they can actually deny this probe from getting in. Now, I hope he leaves a couple of Lings on hold position here, but it looks like they are gonna find this probe. Now I don't think he's actually gonna kill this probe. I feel like Bonyth is gonna get away. But it is denying scouting from Bonyth. And we see that, unlike in the Chaelyn game, this is not a standard gas timing. This is a 3-minute gas. That means there's going to be a third hatch up here. And this might actually be a Hydra play. But because of the location of the hatchery, I actually don't think this is going to be 973. This may just be just some drone macroing from our Zerg player with a third base up at top left, allowing him easy access to the fourth base. And go back on Bonyth's side of the map. Double cannon. He is playing safe, respecting the Ling count. And if these Lings come in, they are going to die. On location cybernetics. But, well, yeah, it is a cybernetics right at the entryway of the Protoss base. Did not build a second pylon in his main, so it does allow for him to get up his cybernetics slightly quicker. Now I wonder if Bonyth will also rush upgrades like we saw Oyaji go for. I have a feeling he's not going to. I think that he'll just play pretty standard. Pylon coming up in the main. Cybernetics is going to complete any moment now. Now the probe finally gets in and sees that the lair is not done, and with the lair not being done, this should have tipped him off that there is a third base somewhere, and also that this is not a normal Spire timing, because this lair should have already been done. So Stargate is going to be more effective than usual. He should be able to get at least one Overlord as long as he can find it, maybe even two. Now Sziky really does need to start droning. He's got a couple drones coming up in his main and natural. I think we're going to see basically what we saw in BSL, where we just saw a huge hatchery flood at his third base, went into 7 hatch production, and I think Bonyth more than likely is just going to play pretty standard, just his usual 4-gate follow-up into 8-gate, 9-gate. A lot of times I see Bonyth play on Circuit Breaker, he ends up going into 9-gate on 2 bases. But just like Oyaji, he loves to build up his probe count, and there might be a window of opportunity for Sziky where even if Sziky is down 30 supply, simply because of workers, the army value may actually be even. And I will probably favor a Sziky in a scenario like that, because he's going to have access to 4 bases. And this is Circuit Breaker, where the third base, the mineral only, has no gas. That's going to be, a good flood of minerals for Protoss, but a lot of the punching power in the Protoss army are those heavy gas units. The Templar, the Archon, the Sayers. You really need gas as a Protoss player. So, there we go. There's the 4th hatch for Sziky. Hydrogen coming down. 5th hatch should be coming down pretty soon. As expected, just powering from Sziky so far, up to 27 drones on 3 bases. Ser hasn't been able to find any overlords just yet. Spire's not done just yet either, so this is going to be at least one dead overlord. I don't think he's actually going to get a second one, but he might. Second Ser out on the map too. If he was able to find this second overlord, I think with double Ser he could pop it before the Scourge get out. Maybe not, actually Scourge are almost done. But that is a supply block for Sziky, but I don't think it's a huge deal right now. 5th hatch coming up at top left. Meanwhile, back on Bonyth's side of the map, he is getting +1 weapon for his Sers. He is continuing to build up his Ser count. The Citadel was at a timing where I don't think that this is a DT play. This does look like it's probably just going to be standard 4-gate Speed Zealot combination with the Sers. You see Probe getting glitched out right here to stack up those Sers, let them fire more in sync together. And just like Oyaji doing a really good job to keep his probe count up, it's at 43 already. Honestly, could just stop production right now and be fine on 2 bases. Now Bonyth, I'm waiting for these gates to come down. It looks like he's missing a bit of his gateways. There's the 3rd. Should be at least 1 more, maybe even more, but at least 4. So 5th hatch is done for Sziky. Looks like he is setting up for his 4th base at top left. And Sziky has gone unpunished here, really only losing 1 overlord, and that's it, and his initial drone. And there's really not a lot of fighting power for Bonyth right now. A DT is coming out, but Sziky's ready. He's got Hydras and overlords all just sitting on hold position together. Drones even being transferred to top left. So Sziky's really got his econ going strong. Actually, there was already a DT out on the map that I didn't even see. Now that's 5 Sers. There goes 1 overlord instantly. That's going to be a second overlord going down, I think, too. And that's going to let this DT get in. And with no overlords to back it up, DT's going to have free reign over this mineral line. He needs to transfer those drones if he wants to save them. It's going to be 1 going down, maybe 2, 3. So even with the drone transfer, still manages to get 3 drones. This drone up here will fall. And meanwhile, Sziky's just trying to do something with these lings, but that's not going to be the damage he wants. And 4 gates are now done for Bonyth. He does have a lot of probes. I would really like to see a couple more gates coming down. He's got the money for it. 7, 8 gate would be really nice, or even taking a 3rd base. But because of his lack of actual defense, I don't think he could really go for that right now. Citadel just now starting speed. Storm also just now starting. So if Sziky was actually able to get up a sizable Hydra count, which he actually does, he's got about 25 Hydras right now, he could actually bust the net. There's really no defense. It's like 3 Zealots and 2 cannons. But of course, we know that. Sziky doesn't know that. Instead, he's just going to be content with macroing. Does transfer some more drones to top left. But these overlords are taking a beating from these Sers. It looks like there are just a bit too many Hydras now at bottom left. They are going to fend off the Sers for now, but the Ser count I don't think has been dwindled at all. It's still at 6. DT finally going to get caught and taken out. But just like Oyaji, I'm getting a bit worried that there's not enough gates right now. There's no 3rd base coming down, floating a bit of money too. +1 armor at least is going to finish. I think Bonyth is one of the players that likes to go double forge, but I don't see it this game. Robo's coming in too. So a bit of a missed opportunity to take a 3rd base while there's action happening across the map. And you can see that Sziky thought that there was potentially a 3rd base here because he pokes down with the Hydras, sees nothing. Now that might trigger alarm bells from him, thinking that maybe mid-right got taken, but we see that that is not the case. So even though the DT did a bit of damage, and the Sers have done a bit of damage, I'm still liking Sziky's position quite a bit. He's already got +1 weapon himself. He started +2. It's about 25% of the way along. Now Bonyth does have a lot of Templar, but they haven't been banking energy for that much time. And there is the gateway flood that I was expecting. There's 8 gate now. Robo has completed. We do have the shuttle coming in. We're going to have observatory coming in pretty soon. So there's going to be a big power spike for the Protoss in the next 2 minutes or so. More Zealots being flooded out. You're going to see a big round of Hyun coming in. within the next minute also. And once, looks like there is going to be a move out, push these Hydras back. Now once Bonyth can get up to 12 goons, that's going to be a lot of power in his attack. But these few Hydras are dealing a decent amount of damage. Now they're kind of overstaying their welcome and ends up losing out 4 or 5 of them. But like I was saying in the Oyaji versus Chaelyn game, look at the supply here. Down 21 workers, but only down about 38 supply. So actually, you know, mass Hydra versus mass Zealots, not that bad when you're only down about 15 supply. Now this is a nice move. Zealot into the main, left the Templar in the shuttle. Now I wonder if he's actually going to storm on the ramp as they come up. That would be absolutely sick. Oh, it looks like that's what he wants to do, or that's what he was planning to do, but it gets intercepted. Can he get off a storm? Okay, he gets 3 drones though. That would have been a really sick move if he was actually able to catch all those drones. So the multitasking from Bonyth, really on point. He's got good supply, 140 to 100, but these Hydras went unscouted. That's going to be a denied third base. And again, just like in the Oyaji game, Mineral is getting low at the Nat, Mineral's getting low at the main, desperately needing to get a third base pretty soon. And now look at the supply. 100 to 128, 24 supply, 24 worker difference. That means that we have basically even standing armies right now. Zealot dealing so much damage in the main, 8 kills somehow. Another drone falls. Now this Hydra will take it out, but that was way more damage than it should have done. Spire also got taken out too, but Sziky still has 4 bases. He's got top left up and running. Remember, he still has 6 hatches, so he can pump out a lot of drones very quickly, and that's exactly what he's doing. He does still have a good standing army. He doesn't necessarily need units right now. Now Bonyth is finally taking the mineral only. Should really consider taking mid right now too. But I still like Sziky's position. He should also have +2 weapon, and Bonyth does have +1 weapon, +1 armor. But unlike in a lot of games I've been seeing lately, there's no second forge, so this is going to be a slow upgrade to 333. He's going to get +2 weapon any moment now, but it's not like he's going to. It's not like Zerga's going to be facing 2-2. Stairs, it looks like one of them got picked off, and they are heavily damaged right now, so they've also going to be careful during any fight. They could easily get taken down by some Hydras. Looks like we've got a Zealot task force up at top middle. More macro hatches coming down for Sziky. He's up to 8 hatches at this point. And that's when it starts getting scary, when Zerg can just pump out, you know, 30, 40 Hydras at once. Bottom middle trying to be taken by Bonyth, but this seems a bit ambitious. Lurkers on high ground, if they can get set up there, like even if you secure this base, it's going to be so hard to use this as like a stepping stone to top left, but also at the same time that does force Sziky to prioritize defending this area. Here comes Bonyth. Now this is a lot of goons. This is like 16 goons, couple Templar, 20 goons actually. And it looks like Bonyth might actually just have too much. There's not that many lurkers, there's not that many Hydras, at least not just yet. But here they come from the back, sending all of his units that direction. And it's only Dragoons. There's 1, 2 Templar, but they have 5 storms available. There's 1, there's 2. Oh, a third one blankets a lot of the Hydras. He has another one, and all of a sudden this Hydra army that looked very huge on top of the platform is non-existent now. They're all going to fall. Zealot counterattack at the top middle, puts some pressure up there, and Bonyth is easily going to get bottom middle up and running. He's now up 70 supply, so now there's a huge swell of army value for Bonyth. Sziky's in trouble now. He really has to start pumping out units. He's got 50 drones, which is very good for Zerg on 4 bases. He does have, oh, I thought he was going to have his hatch or his hive done, but we see that hive hasn't even started. He at least has double upgrades coming in, but that means no +3 weapon for his Hydras. He has started Ling upgrades, but Lings are not going to be very good unless they have Crackling the Crackling upgrade. But look at this army. It's just pure goons at this point. Huge probe transfer down to bottom middle. Would like to see some more Zealots and Archons mixed in this army, but Bonyth doing a good job keeping his gas extremely low. Remember, mineral only, there's no gas there, so this is really the first time Bonyth is going to have a swell of gas coming in. His main and nat gas are almost mined out. 67 probes for Bonyth. This is a pretty good number to be on in Protoss versus Zerg. He is taking mid-right. And now I think actually Bonyth has a stranglehold on this game. He's got 2-1 going up against 2-1 for Zerg in a second, but the army value is just way too big. Zealots do run into a lurker field, but Bonyth is on top of it, moving his army up to the top to consolidate. And what do you do as Zerg? He needs more Sunkens, more Spores, more everything. There's just so many goons. But it looks like Bonyth is content with just sitting. I actually like this bottom base more and more, because even if Bonyth loses this base, that means that Zerg had to send a ton of defense down here, or a ton of units to actually break it, which opens up top left, and that's where all of Zerg's econ is. And Bonyth has mid-right up and running, or up, so he can just transfer there easily. Instead, Bonyth just jumps back down to bottom middle, takes out this hatchery. That's going to be no cancel either. So Bonyth is going to be maxed in a second, and Zerg is just now getting hive, just now started crackling. Defiler Mound coming up too, but it feels like this is a little bit too late. Bonyth is on 10 gate. We see multiple robotics coming in, 3 of them. He's got the support bay coming in too. Now finally we do have double upgrades coming in for him, so he's going to have 3-2 pretty soon. But this is what I was saying about lurkers on this position. Oh, well, you can't sit up there. That's going to be dead lurkers with no support. Good storm right there, blankets a couple of the lurkers. 2 or 3 of them get popped instantly, and now a few overlords just running into the death. That's going to supply block Sziky, and this might just be the moment that Bonyth was waiting for. These goons really have not died for the past 3 or 4 minutes. He still has 20 of them. Back at the main of Bonyth, he does have a decent amount of Zealots and Templar. He just has them split across his bases. So if he could just get his Zealots in combination with these goons, I really think he could just end this game. There's really not that much for Zerg. It's just lurkers. Another storm, just dealing so much damage. The Templars with the Khydarian Amulet just have infinite energy. Now finally, Sziky might get a good trade, but still, it's not enough. Even catching the goons on a flank, there's still 11 remaining. Now Sziky putting up more macro hatches at top left. He's even got the mineral only, but it's not mining just yet. Crack is done. +2 weapon for Lings and +2 armor is coming in for Sziky too. But all that's going to do is match the upgrades of our Protoss player. +2 armor is about to kick in, +3 weapons about to kick in. But Zerg is going to get scary if he can just wait a couple more minutes and get up to about 150 supply or so. Once Defilers come in too, he's going to have Dark Swarm. Plague should be, well, looks like Consume is not done just yet. So Plague is a bit far along, but if he can start plaguing these units, these Lings will just chew through everything. But Bonyth is not going to give Sziky an ounce of space. He's just going to pounce on this mineral only. Oh no. Oh no! Overlords are just running into Mass Goon Reaver. These Overlords might all fall, but look at the supply doubling in supply. Reavers are just chewing through these Lings. The Lurkers are really not done much at all to the Dragoons all game long. Finally, it looks like the Dragoons are going to start falling, but that's simply because Bonyth hasn't really reinforced this army. He's got about 30 supply of Zealot Templar not in this army. This isn't even his whole army, and he's easily busting through Sziky's defenses. Meanwhile, at top right, do have a probe set up like it's going to take this position, and if Protoss can split the map with an additional base at bottom middle, it's almost lights out for Zerg, especially now that Zerg is literally getting doubled in supply. And Bonyth hasn't even started harassing just yet. We haven't seen any Reaver harassment, no Zealot, no Templar harassment, just the initial harassment at the with that one drop that dropped 3 Zealots. More and more Zealots being pumped out by Bonyth. He's got 4 more Reavers back at his natural, and he does notice that they have just now popped, so now he's going to start sending them out. Looks like he's got his eyes set on bottom left, but Sziky does have a couple Scourge and Hydra set up in position. Meanwhile, this army at the top left still battling, but there's just not that much for Sziky anymore. 6th base even is going to go up for free for Bonyth. Looks like this Scourge may catch the shuttle. No. just barely gets in. Shuttle does fall. Oh, Reaver almost picks off a ton of drones right there, but not able to get the shot in time. Looks like Spire might actually fall. Hyun dealing a lot of damage by himself. I wonder if he even has the weapon damage upgrade for the Reaver. Reaver does fall to 1 Ling. Reaver at the top ends up falling too, but a non-issue since Bonyth just has such killer econ and such a strong army. He's got so much gas too, so he can replace these Zealots with like 6 Archons the next time he goes for a macro round of Templar. More Reavers meeting up with the rest of his army. Sziky has started to get a bit of a positional advantage now, setting up lurkers on the high ground, but now with Reavers in place and Storm, 4 Reavers even, that's going to be some dead lurkers very quickly. Look at how fast these Reavers just bust through everything. Goodbye lurkers. Hasn't even used a single Storm just yet. That's 3 lurkers just gone in an instant. I think this is it. It looks like really all Sziky has is Massling. He's coming from all angles, but with so many Reavers here, and Storm and Archons, the trading efficiency of Bonyth is absurd. 186, he just remains permanently maxed. Anytime there's a fight, it doesn't matter. Just perma-max. He's got 3-2-1 upgrades. Zerg has great upgrades himself. He's got +2. Looks like he missed +3, but it's not like Zerg is only on 1-1 or something. He has good upgrades. It's just he's not able to trade as efficiently as Bonyth is. And I haven't seen a single Plague or Darkstorm all game. There's finally 1 Darkstorm, but he needs some Plagues. There's a Plague, but it really doesn't hit very important units. It's just 4 goons. And this has got to be it. There's just too much Zerg, or too much Protoss. 6 base Protoss with like 5 robotics just spread everywhere. 3 at the natural, 1 at top right. Just perfect play from Hunter. There was a moment in the early stages where I thought Sziky might just, catch up with so many Hydras, but he didn't, and that's GG. Bonyth is going to take that game, and that is going to put Team Hope at 2-2. So now it comes down to the decider match of Scan versus Dewalt. Now this is going to be a hype match for me because I always love watching Scan and Dewalt. Finally, we're going to have a Terran versus Protoss here. So let's get into it. Our map is going to be Sylphid. And as far as level of play in the foreign scene, it doesn't get higher than this. This is the top. We've got Scan, who's breaching 27 to 2800 versus Dewalt, who is consistently like 2500 on the ladder. And I can tell you from my experience in Korea, 2500 is no joke. There's a lot of pros that play on alt accounts at around 2500, or maybe not struggle at 2500, but consistently lose at 2500. So this should be a really good matchup. Now, Scan for a long time has been dominating foreigners, but it seems like a few of them have leveled up in the past few months. I know that Dewalt beat Scan somewhat recently, but still, Scan is still much higher rated than Dewalt and players like Bonyth and True Touch. So we'll have to see what Dewalt has in store for us. Can he bring it to Scan? Can he get a victory for his team? So we do have Dewalt at bottom right, and we do have Scan at bottom left. Now, in my experience these days on the ladder, I've seen a lot of Protoss players really not put on a lot of pressure with Zealot harassment. It seems that more players are just skipping that, just going into standard goon time and getting up a faster Nexus, whether it's a 330 Nexus or a little bit later than that, but really not prioritizing Zealot harassment. Now, I have seen Terran players these days somewhat go for gasless a bit more often. There was really a point a few months ago where almost nobody was going gasless. Now you do see it a decent amount of time, but still, more often than not, you're seeing 12 gas, and as expected, we are having 12 gas from Scan. Now Dewalt, I am paying a close attention to whether he's going to be building this Zealot. Is he going to try and out micro scan in the early stages of the game? It looks like he's not going to go for it because the Zealot would have been built by now. So it is just going to be standard goon follow-up for Dewalt. Now what does Scan want to do? Because I've been watching a lot of players like Rush, like Sari, and they love to follow up with a starport. And I don't think Scan is necessarily someone that plays drops often, but it's definitely in his wheelhouse, and with more players doing it these days, maybe we will see some drop harassment from him. We do see him pulling off of gas as expected, so he's going to be taking his natural, just like Dewalt will be taking his natural. Nothing unusual from Dewalt. He ended up going for what looked like goon first into range. There's no hidden pylon anywhere. There's no second probe anywhere going for a hidden citadel or anything. Now, Scan needs to leave with this SCV if he wants to save it, but it looks like he is just going to sack it to keep the goon back. Well, he might actually save it. This is what I like to do, is you drill into the mineral line, kind of glitch the goon, and that sometimes allows you to save the SCV. It looks like that might actually be the case, because this SCV is pretty quick, but it does only have 2 shots left. But yeah, it does end up getting away, and Dewalt actually did not go for the 21 Nexus. He did build up his second goon, and I love how he's keeping this goon on hold position back at his main, because a lot of players that do draw the first goon out of position will build a vulture and try and run it into your main. So a smart move from Dewalt to just leave it there and evaluate what's going on before actually getting greedy with his second goon. Now this SCV actually did get away, and he could be using it to just come in for a secondary scout. He could use this as a position to build a proxy starport. We see that there's no starport just yet. Actually, mines are coming in for scans. So actually, I'm not too sure what he wants to do with this. If he was going to go for starport, I think he would have built the starport first and not have gone for mines. Would have gotten that afterwards. So I think this is just going to be a move out from him, just to get a bit of breathing room in front of the bunker, and then use that to just play a normal standard game. Now SCV is at mid-right, checking to see whether there's third base coming up already. We see that Dewalt is not one of those players that's just going to riskily take a third Nexus off of 2 goons. He has instead gone for standard robo timing. It was a 4-minute robo. Second gate coming in, and we do have observatory coming down. Now, this follow-up from Dewalt, very standard these days. Build 2 gate and consistently pump goons. A lot of players, or a lot of Terran players, have been going for a 2-fact 3-tank move out, and this just shuts it down. You have a lot of goons, surprisingly, on 2 gates, something like 8, and you can easily push it back. Now we see that Scan is not going for that. He is just going for standard Academy follow-up, standard 515 or so armory, and he did use these mines to just push the goons back. Now he's just going to get a little bit of map control with the mines, a little bit of vision. I would like to see a mine being placed down here, simply because this will give him vision of potential shuttle path. If a shuttle flies in this direction, maybe he can see it, or he can use it to put down a mine to block the emitter only, and that is what it looks like he's doing. So there's one mine there. Now where's he going to put his other mine? Ooh, looks like he wanted to go to the high ground base, but not able to find an opening to do that. So instead he's just going to put it in the center of the map, and that's going to be one of the pathways that Dragoons are likely to take. So that's going to give vision, or that's going to give him a little bit of a heads up, like, hey, looks like goons might be attacking your front sometime soon. Now Dewalt, I like this scout. I don't think this is necessarily for a Nexus, but I think this was a scout to make sure that there's no hidden starport over here. Wow, look at this timing from Dewalt, moving his probe out of position, and the vulture won't find it. Now if you're Scan at this point, you may be curious why there's no third base, because we're approaching 7 minutes into the game and there's still no third for Dewalt. He did scan, and he does see that Dewalt is going for a somewhat fast Stargate and fast Citadel, but this is not so fast where Dewalt wouldn't be taking a Nexus. So the Nexus is actually going down at bottom middle. So this is, I'm going to call it like a 2.5 base Arbiter play. It's not 2 base Arbiter because it's a little bit slower than 2 base Arbiter. He's not super rushing it, but he's actually getting it a decent amount faster than usual, about 45 seconds or so. Now how is Scan going to respond? There we go. He is going to put down his command center. Now he's not willing to risk putting a command center down on location because he did see that Dewalt did go for 2 gates, and you can build up a lot of goons very quickly on 2 gates. We see that Dewalt actually already has 10 goons that could easily deny this base for quite a long time, so I like the choice to put down the command center in the main, just float it into his 3rd base. We do have standard 3rd and 4th factory follow-up from Scan. Starport coming in too, so it looks like he missed his +2 timing by just a little. But overall, it's not going to be a huge issue for him. He's still going to get his +2 weapon probably around like 13:30 or so. So it's still a fine timing for him. It's definitely not going to be as fast as he could have gotten it though, at around like 12:15. But everything so far looks great for him. Dewalt going for a transfer to his 3rd base. Now Dewalt should be feeling pretty good. He saw exactly what's going on. I'm expecting him to take a 4th base in any moment now. He's got his first Arbiter coming out. Now this type of style from Dewalt I find the hardest to play against because Protoss can see what you're doing. If you go for a timing, they can just cut probes, put down a lot of gates, and they're going to have their Arbiter in time. They may not have stasis, but it's not like you have endless scans. So it's really hard to punish this with a timing, but it's also very hard to fight in the mid and late game because they start getting so many Arbiters that you're no longer facing like 1 to 2 stasis when you move out. You could be potentially facing like 3, 4 stasis. This Arbiter is going to be out in the next minute, and then there's not going to be an attack for at least 4 minutes. That's going to give this Arbiter all the time in the world to actually have 2 stasises available and get out another Arbiter. So here comes Dewalt. He's trying to find the best angle, but it looks like he's not willing to step in and actually take an engagement. So instead, he's just going to try and delay this as long as possible. He does have 4th Nexus coming up. He does have his +1 weapon coming in. Scan has just now started his +2 weapon. So 3-minute upgrade on this +2 is going to put him at about 1240 on his +2 timing. And that's going to be a really strong power spike for him, of course. Now, all we're watching for right now is Factory Flood coming in for Scan. 10 minutes about the time when you start seeing the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th factory coming in. He does have his 3rd base up and running now. He's got a good SCV count around 60. This is what you want on 3 bases. Meanwhile, Protoss, 60 to 65 is a good number for 4 bases. So Dewalt managing his probe count very nicely as well too. We do see 10 gates already down for Dewalt. He's going to have +1 weapon coming in pretty soon. He's got his 2nd Arbiter coming out. The 1st Arbiter is already out. I'm trying to find where it actually is. There it is. It is at the 3rd base. Now this is a move that a lot of players are doing these days. As soon as they get their first stasis, they're just going in. And we see that speed is going to kick in pretty soon. Dewalt has a 25 supply lead, but this is actually the key to success for Scan right now. Is if these goons attack this bunker and don't actually get damage onto the tanks, there's no way that this attack from Dewalt can work. Also, there is a bunker set up, so that's going to buy a lot of time, and I love the mine positioning too. Scan has a lot of tanks right now. He's got about 13 or so. This is great for 11 minutes, so this is actually just going to be a huge fail if Dewalt actually ends up going for it. So I think Dewalt should just be content with taking 4 bases for now. Sit back, build up that Arbiter count. Like I said, 3-4 stasis is a whole nother beast than facing 1 or 2 stasis. Looks like he may actually try and do it. He's got a shuttle here too, so it makes me think he really wants to try and bust this, but there's just really no way he can. Now, funnily enough, is as a Protoss player, you always have to make a decision. Do I go for recall or do I go for stasis? This time, recall would have been the move because there's a lack of turrets for Scan. There's a lack of mines too, and we know that all of the units are out of position. Now, as I say that, Scan knows the timing of this Arbiter. He knows when recall could potentially be hitting, and look at this, 145 energy is what Protoss actually had, and because Scan knows that, he moved some of his units into the main to defend a potential recall play. So really nice movement from Scan, even though a recall didn't happen. This was great play from him. He was able to map it out perfectly. Now I don't know about this. A scout coming in for Dewalt might be used to just tank for an Arbiter recall, just tank the turret shots. Double Forge for Dewalt 2. He wants to try and match the power spike of Terran. +3 weapon has started for Terran 2. Now a lot of Terran players are actually just sitting and waiting for +3 weapon, but because of how fast Scan has gotten to max, he may just actually push with 2-1. He's got his command center coming up though, so he may be content with just waiting for +3 himself, but this upgrade is about 3 minutes away from kicking in, so we may actually have an engagement before +3 kicks in. But so far, nothing really happening out on the map. Both players still sitting at 60 probes, or 60 workers. Nobody's really been building up their probe count. They're just purely focusing on units, and really that's all you need to do once you get to this stage of the game. Once you have like 4 or 5 bases, if you just put 1 worker per patch, you have an insane incon. You don't need to have 80 probes. But here we go. Looks like Dewalt finally wants to make a move here. There's Arbiter sitting and waiting. Well, where's his other Arbiter? I know he has a second Arbiter somewhere. Did it die? I only see 1 right now. Okay, there's 1. There's 2. Looks like it did use its energy, or it got EMP'd. Maybe there's an EMP that went off. But there's the 3rd Arbiter right now. And 3 Arbiters. It could get ugly very quickly for Terran, but I do like that Terran is building up his tank count. He's got 18 tanks right now. Looks like Scan is going to be waiting for max, or waiting for 3-2. So he should consider throwing away some of these vultures after they lay mines, just to build up his tank count even farther. He's going to have 21 once these 3 tanks come out. He's got 10 factories. That's pretty much perfect as Terran. 10 to 12 on 4 bases is just great. And there he goes. He is going to use these vultures to just free up a little bit of supply. Let him build up his tank count. He doesn't really find any success at any of these bases. He killed like 2 or 3 pros, but here comes a recall, and it's right in front of all these mines. So he's actually not going to get hit by anything, but that's going to be a bunch of dead Protoss. I don't even think he's going to get this command center. Only 4 goons trying to shell down this command center, and I think this was a bit of a blunder, because now Scan's going to shut down top middle. He's found it, and Protoss on 5 base is pretty good, but really you need to be on like 6 base, 7 base, versus a Terran who's definitely going to be on 5 base in the next few seconds. 4th is going to be up and running any moment now. And then top left really doesn't look like any real chance of it being denied. Dewalt coming into the 3rd base, but remember, this rack soaks up so many hits. You see that the Zealots are flooding in, but they're running into so many mines, just dealing damage to a bunker that's not important. Is that going to be a recall? No, it's going to be a stasis. He hits a decent amount of tanks, but these goons are still sitting in the back. Look at the supply plummet, 145 for Dewalt. He killed like 2 tanks during that entire engagement. So a big loss there from Dewalt, losing all of his Zealots. He's going to lose all of his goons too. He gets off a decent storm, but that's only going to kill 2 tanks, and that's the trade that Scan was looking for. Now he's up 50 supply. He's denied top middle. If I had a trade like that, I'm almost feeling like I can't lose at this point. Now he should consider pushing down to the mineral only. If he can secure that terrain, that means he can secure this base, start spamming turrets here too, and that all of a sudden makes recall almost impossible. So that was a huge blunder from Dewalt. Now I see he's queuing up some more probes, which he hasn't overqueued probes, but now after trading so poorly, he definitely needs to build up more army, not just workers. Now I see that there is a scout in there. I'm very confused by this, but maybe it is. Maybe it is actually used to just soak turret hits. But here comes Scan. He does have +3 now. +3 armor has not been started, but not the most key upgrade, especially when Protoss is only at +2 weapon. But Scan can almost do whatever he wants. Does he want to take top left? Does he want to take bottom left? Remember, also, all of the energy was used from the Arbiters. Oh man. Dewalt not controlling his army the greatest. A couple more goons fall to some mines. Wow. Scout. He actually popped the vessel with it. I'm totally shocked. I guess it does deal a lot of damage to air. But goons that are upgraded too deal almost the same amount of damage. But here comes Scan. He's got an absolutely absurd army. 140 supply worth of army. There's just like 2 storms available, not even stasis available. He's waiting for a juicy EMP. That's an okay storm, but really not the greatest. It hits 2 tanks. That was not the greatest. It hits 1 tank. And this army just looks unstoppable. There's just tanks for days. 8. There's like 12 there. He's got like 25 tanks. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Dewalt does end up recalling and killing this command center. So actually, Scan is getting a bit low on resources. He's about to be mined out through all of his bases. This is really his only resources. Once this army gets wiped, if it was to get wiped, he can build up maybe about 60 supply worth of units, and that's it. So he really does need to start getting another base. He does have the command center at top left, and I don't think it's going to get denied. There's just not enough goons. But he does need to get this base up and running, otherwise he's going to be very resource starved pretty soon. But as I say that, this Nexus is dead. There's a huge contain outside of Dewalt's base. This Nexus is dead too. And because Dewalt was never able to get top middle or top right, this is going to be 2 mining bases just instantly crushed. And even though he has bottom left, there's no probes here, and he can't transfer because there's a huge contain. So really, Dewalt's going to be mining on 1 base for the next few minutes. And I think, yeah, just GG. Scan does it. There's just too much of a supply lead, and Dewalt taps out. So that is going to be Team Wish taking the series 3-2. They started off 2-0, and then Terra and Bonyth bringing it back for Team Hope. And I really did like Dewalt's build in the final game versus Scan, but Scan just too much of a monster. Like I was saying, that bunker and barracks was gonna do so much work versus any incoming attack. And you saw it right there. All the zealots insta died. The goons just stood there, took so many hits from the tanks without dealing any damage, and that's all Scan really needed to just push to victory. So now we are going to go into 2 special games. We've got Shuttle versus Rush, another Terran versus Protoss, and then we've got 1 more after that. So our next map is going to be Polypoid. Shuttle seems to have come back recently. I guess he just got out of the army sometime in the past few months, because I've seen him streaming a lot more these days. But he's going up against somebody who's been playing consistently well in all of our StarCast matches. It's Rush. Now Rush is one of those people that you really don't know what he's going to do, but he is definitely aggro. But he doesn't necessarily have to be aggro with like 2-fact play or starport play. He can be aggro in the sense that he's just going to go for like a 2-base 6-fact, 2-base 7-fact. It could be like 3-base 8-fact. He can do all types of stuff. So you really don't know what you're getting with Rush. He can also play upgrade style. He can do a timing with upgrades going behind it at the same time. Like, it's just crazy some of the stuff he comes up with. Meanwhile, Shuttle's always been really solid. I feel like Shuttle versus Rush should be a somewhat even matchup, where even though Rush is very good, he's not on the level of someone like Light, who has really shot up in skill in the past few months. And just like Shuttle, Shuttle is not somebody that's like, you know, Snow or somebody. He's like a tier below the top tier Protoss pros. Now it looks like Shuttle is going to be going for 12 Nexus. And as I was saying last game, Gasless is kind of resurged a little bit from the Terran perspective, and it looks like that's what Rush is going to go for here. Now, the last time I saw him go for Gasless was versus Snow in a previous cast, and he ended up following with a 5-fact like mass tank push. He pushed out with like 9 tanks and then just rallied vultures with it, and it was super strong timing. Ended up winning that game. Snow kind of powered a little bit excessively, but with Shuttle opening with 12 Nexus, you know his power spike is going to be much faster than a normal gate opener. So I think out of all the games that Rush should go for a timing, this is not the timing, or this is not the game to go for a timing, because you know Protoss can really max at 11 minutes with Arbiters when they go for 12 Nexus, and Terran is all about hitting critical mass, and if you're not going to be at critical mass at a timing when Protoss is going to have an overwhelming amount of econ and have tech, that's not going to be a winning condition for you. So I'm really hoping that we see a big macro slugfest. Maybe potentially Rush goes to 4 bases on 3-2 or 2-1 before making a move. Now, if I was a Terran player and saw this, I would not be happy, because this is going to be 1 gate play from Shuttle. Now, at least what Rush has going for him is that he hasn't been scouted by Protoss, and there's actually no scout from Protoss at all. So Protoss doesn't know that this is gasless. He also doesn't know if there's going to be an SCV pull. You can see that he's actually building a decent amount of zealots preemptively. So even though this is a 1 gate 12 Nexus, he's actually being respectful for the chance, or for the potential for there to be an SCV pull. So even though I was, as a Terran player, I'm really mad to see Protoss get away with 1 gate like this, I'm actually okay with this since he is building zealots anyways, to make sure that he doesn't get busted. But in general, when you're a Terran and you see this, you're feeling like, well, you got away with murder here, you just didn't even cut econ. But that's not the case. This is actually a variation of 12 Nexus I haven't seen before. So pretty interesting. Now meanwhile, first factory coming up for Rush. I imagine second factory is going to be coming up pretty soon, because that just seems to be what Rush likes to do. He always likes to make something happen. We could even see a proxy starport, which is what this SCV looks like it might be doing, but he also has a lot of resources, so it could be a 3rd base. There's no way that this is a starport. This has to be a command center, right? It has to be. So it is going to be triple command center for Rush. So here we go. This is going to be a big macro fest, like I was expecting, since it was a 12 Nexus. Now, what Terrans generally do versus 12 Nexus is, if they're not going to pull, they end up just going mine expand, and they lay a ton of mines. Now, some players end up going into fast armory and just giving the Nexus to the Protoss for free, and giving up a 3rd Nexus for free, really, and just relying on their big time upgrades in mid-late game. But this time, Rush is actually just going to take a 3rd base. Now, this is not what I was expecting. A tank comes out, there's no mines. This is really risky, but you have to remember that Terran knows that Protoss knows that there's likely to be mines. So instead of going mines, he just ends up going straight into tank. Now, you cannot do this versus lower level players. Lower level players will just move goons across the map regardless. So this is definitely some high level mind games from Terran, reading it perfectly. Now he's even going siege. Like, look how vulnerable this base is. It just insta-dies to this. But Rush does see that there is no move out from Shuttle. He sees that there's a 3rd Nexus coming down, so everything is just fine for him. And even though Shuttle got up at 12 Nexus, they're even in worker count. So Rush has done a good job to maintain his worker production. He's got Academy coming down. He's got Armory even coming down at 6 minutes. So he's going to be able to hit 2-1 at 13 minutes. He could even just use this to go for an 8-9 fact timing like I was saying he likes to do. He could just go at +1. He's already got 3 bases up and running, and he has good saturation across all of his bases. He already has 1 per patch at his 3rd base. Like, the econ for Rush right now is actually crazy. And Shuttle is just sitting here. He has no idea that this is going on. He didn't even send out a Zealot to scout. He didn't send a Goon to scout. He's just now sending an Observer to scout. And when he comes in here and sees this, he may actually, well, he's definitely going to know something's going on, because Terran should not only have 2 factories. If they only had 2 factories, it's because they rushed upgrades. But there's no starport anywhere. There's no science facility anywhere. So he's going to know. But Protoss still should feel okay. Well, actually, Protoss should not feel okay, because I see there's no Citadel. Oh, Stargate. So actually this is going to be carriers. So we're going to have carriers versus Terran, who already has 3 bases. Didn't necessarily rush upgrades, but they're getting them at a pretty good time. And this might actually trigger Rush to go for a +1 timing. I didn't see what he scanned, but with 3 base and 3 gas, he may just go for it with +1, hit right before carriers. And that could be a winning move for him now that Shuttle hasn't gone for arbiters. Really loving the tank placement, really loving his SimCity at the 3rd base. There's nothing that Shuttle can really do. And I don't even think this Observer scouted the 3rd base. So this looks like just a bad read from Shuttle, really. Well, Rush is banking, or is going to start banking a lot of money pretty soon. He's got 60 workers already. That's more than enough on 3 bases. So he could really start flooding factories pretty soon if he wanted. We do have the starport coming down. Now, one thing that Rush does do is, unlike a lot of other Terran players, sometimes he does excessively build workers. There was a game I did see of him where he went up to 93 SCVs, and that's fine, but you have to realize that you're going to be trading not as effectively as possible in fights. So if he's going to do that, he needs to play passive. But if you're going to be playing passive versus somebody going carriers, that's going to be a bit rough, because once they get up to 6, 7, 8 carriers, you know, sometimes those carriers are just, or they just feel like they're unkillable. But it looks like he has stopped at 67, so that's a good count for him. And there's the factory flood. As expected, it's 8 fact. He could potentially put down 1 or 2 more. He could take his 4th base also. Protoss is not doing anything, and I did hear another scan go off a couple seconds ago, so he should know that this is carriers. Citadel is coming in. Templar Archive hasn't even started just yet. Carrier Templar is actually one of the hardest things to fight in the game. It feels like you can never engage it. Zealots take up a lot of hits too, so we'll have to see how Rush wants to navigate that type of unit comp. More gates coming in for Shuttle. It's about 9 right now. 10. The +1 weapon upgrade from the Terran is going to match the +1 upgrade of the Protoss. Now, the key breakpoint for Protoss is definitely getting to +3 weapon and +2 armor. But it looks like Terran just wants to move out right now. It's going to hit right before carriers get out. But he's got to be careful, because that's a Shuttle and he has really no anti-air. It's 1 Goliath and 3 Marines. But he is slowly creeping, and that is a lot of tanks actually. And with 8 fact production, he can easily string vultures across the map. But he's got to be very careful attacking uphill. There's a lot of games that I end up throwing because I try and engage at this angle. But here he goes. Looks like Shuttle's not trying to commit. He may just give up this Nexus. Yeah, he's decided he can't hold it. He is up 30 supply, but remember, about 12 of that supply is locked up in carriers. He also doesn't have the Interceptor upgrade. Where is the Fleet Beacon? Okay, there it is. Looks like it just now finished. So this Nexus may actually be saved. But it's going to be very close. There's no anti-air just yet. But this was a nice timing from Rush to deny this base before carriers got up. So now he should consider turning around. A nice move from Shuttle would be if he swooped around with these units from the back and just overwhelmed. Because this is 10 tanks. 10 tanks are good, but when they're shelling uphill and also getting flanked from the back, and Terran can't reinforce easily, that would be an amazing move. But instead, Rush is dropped mid-right. He finds an opening here. He's going to kill a decent amount of... Oh, no. Oh, my God, no. Oh, my gosh. He gets so many probes. He got like 8 probes right there. So this entire mineral line gets wiped, and now Shuttle's going to have to transfer some more probes. Luckily for him, the ones that he transferred from here ended up going to the natural instead of this base. If they had have all transferred here, that would have been about 15 probes that would have gotten killed. But unlike that one game I was saying where there was 93 SCVs, Rush has managed his SCV count very well. He's got a supply lead now. He's got an army lead now. He's got his 4th base coming up. He's got +2 weapon coming in within the next 45 seconds. And I think Shuttle just doesn't have enough at this point. He's got 4 carriers. 4 is not the number. It's really 6 is when it starts getting dangerous. He does have +2 weapon coming in pretty soon, so that's good. But the lack of damage on the ground, there's no upgrades at all right now. He's going to be fighting +2 versus +0. These zealots are going to deal a decent amount of damage in combination with carriers, but in general, they're going to be hitting not as strong as they should be. And Rush is max. Like, I don't think there's any way Shuttle can actually stop this army. There's also no Templars. Just now starting the Templar Archive, so there's no Storm. He has a decent amount of gas. If he had like 3 Templars in that Shuttle, that could be a game changer if he could blanket the Goliath. But as played, don't see that happening. Another Vulture run by into the natural, just picking Shuttle apart. Rushes everywhere. Anytime Protoss moves out of position, he's finding a bunch of kills. That's going to soften up, oh, so many zealots. Oh my god, this mine. Oh my god, does he realize? Okay, he does get taken out. But probe count down to 45. Now that's really not good for Protoss when they're on 3 or 4 bases. But since he's maxed, that does give him 20 supply more an army. If his ground army was more upgraded, or if his carrier count was at 6, I would actually feel like this was not a bad position for Protoss, because it's going to be super hard to engage these carriers, especially when they can sit over areas like this. But Rush is just expanding anywhere. He's taking top left, he's taking bottom middle. He knows he's got full grasp on this game, and it looks like he really just wants to fight. He's trying to find the best angle. And this is an open space for Protoss to come in, but there's just so many tanks. How many tanks is this? Oh, looks like we do have an engagement. Here he comes. It is 6 carriers, but is there enough? So many tanks. The Zealots are getting on top of the Goliath, and there's no more Vultures. They are all falling. This is why it's so hard to fight carrier Zealot Goon, because Zealots get on top of the Goliath so easily, and then also the Goliath AI messes up. But it looks like there's just barely enough Terran, but you can see that the supplies basically were even. Went down to 140 for Protoss, whereas Terran went down to 125, but the difference is just in the workers. Now, because the worker count is such a big difference, the Protoss player really has lack of econ right now. He's struggling in the resources, does need to build up a few more probes, does need to try and take top left. But overall, not the worst trade for Shuttle. He ended up keeping alive his 6 carriers too, so that's great for him. We see the first few Templars are popping out. Looks like that might be a bit too many. He's got 10 Templar coming. That's pretty hard to use. And yeah, he did build way too many. Ends up morphing 3 Archons, realizing that there's no way he's going to be able to cast that many Storms. Now, if he could have used some of that to build 2 more carriers, 8 carriers would have been super dangerous. He does have +3 weapon, halfway done. Terran has +3 weapon, halfway done, so both players matching their upgrades. But Rush, he has top left. He's just mining the gas. It would be nice for him to transfer some of these SCVs up here, or even transfer some of the SCVs on the geysers up to here, because he just simply needs minerals at this point. He's got 4 gas right now, actually 5 gas really. He's got this base too. Another Vulture run by, picks off a Templar, nice find. He picks off a couple of probes here, but not the biggest move. Supplies are very close, max versus max. Again, Protoss has an army advantage, but because these are 4 Archons, I feel like this is basically 16 dead supply. Now, if Terran has a vessel with EMP, it's 100% dead supply, but it looks like Rush does not have a vessel, so he's not going to be able to instantly EMP these Archons. How many tanks do we have? There's 12 tanks, and this time there's way more Goliaths, there's way more vultures. Not really building that many tanks. He knows that the real threat here is the Zealots actually just getting on top of the Goliaths. It's not necessarily the Lagoons. So it looks like we are going to finally have an engagement out in the center of the map. Shuttle has skirted by all these mines, and now actually Terran is, well, I was going to say Terran has to take an awkward engagement, but actually he doesn't. That is, I don't know about this angle. A lot of Zealots just moving out in front. The Vultures are in a good position too, sitting out in the front. Look at how fast all the Zealots melt because they have really no upgrades. Good positioning on the tanks this time too. He's only lost about 3. And unlike the last engagement, a lot of the Goliaths remain strong, but it's still 12 versus 6 carriers. What I like versus carriers is about 2.5 Goliaths per carriers. So he needs to have at least like 15 to 16. But the Protoss player has found an opening onto the mineral only. But is this just going to be a sandwich now? That's what I'm most worried about. It looks like, oh no. Goliaths from the back, that's going to be 1 dead carrier, at least. There goes one of them. Tanks are going to shell down all these goons. Supplies are still very even. It looks like there's a Vulture run by to the mineral only up here, shutting down the mineral line. So Protoss down to 37 probes. Terrans at 54. Still an okay SCV count. SCVs got wiped by this one Archon down here. Command center goes down. As Protoss, you're probably feeling like that was an okay trade as long as you wiped out 2 bases. But unbeknownst to him, Rush still has bottom right. Rush has top left. He's still got 55 SCVs. Goliath actually being heroic here, tanking a lot of shots from the Goliath. But with 3 carriers remaining, there's just no longer critical mass for Shuttle. His main and Nat are mined out. He's just now going to be mining a mineral only that has less bases or less patches than his main and Nat. So really it's like 1.5 bases for him. Carriers are going to find bottom right, but when he finds this, he may feel like this is just GG. Another carrier is going to fall, I think. There's not enough carriers to actually take down these Goliaths and command center. 1 carrier goes down. 2 more carriers are about to pop, but they're not out just yet. Meanwhile, Terran has a task force just sitting on this ledge. It may end up getting taken out. Oh no, it's not. He's going to siege up. Oh, never mind. It is just going to be GG, and Rush is going to take this game over Shuttle. So really nicely done from Rush. I mean, the beginning was a bit much to just go straight tank, but like I said, that was definitely a mind game to power as hard as possible against somebody that is also very knowledgeable about the game. You know that Terran's going to go mines, so you just go tanks. So our final game of the day is going to be Snow versus Hero. This should be a good one because Snow, the best Protoss these days, and Hero, one of the best Zergs. So our final map is going to be Sylphid. We've got Snow at top middle. We've got Hero at bottom right. And I could be wrong, but I feel like also Hero got out of the army recently, like within the past 6 months. And in the meantime, Snow has been killing it as Protoss. He's just been wrecking people. Now I think he may be less active than he was maybe 6 months ago, but he's still very good. I think he's been doing more community type stuff. You know, he owns, or he's training up a bunch of people. His team is called Team Postes or Postes, and he's taken a bunch of amateur players and just tried to, I guess, get them good enough to make it into ASL, trying to qualify through ACS. I've played a couple of them on the ladder. The ones I have played are in there around the 2200 to 2300 range, and they're pretty good. I know that there are other players on the team that are pushing about 2500, so these players are definitely really good, and with coaching from Snow, you know that they are definitely potential threats in upcoming ACS tournaments. Now we do have Gateway Expand from Snow, and for a second I thought we were going to have 1 base Speedling, but it is just going to be 9 pool opener from Hero, so a bit of a deviation from what we saw Sziky open with the overpool. Now this should be a really good counter to what Snow is doing really should take no damage to any incoming Zealot pressure. And he is going to scout him first, so Overlord can just sit on this high ground and see exactly when the Zealot is moving out. Now Probe comes in here. It's going to be a bit annoying. He does want to see how many wings actually get made. It is going to be the full 6. And Hero's Overlord coming in here, so he does see that it is a gateway expand. It is not a forge expand, as I was saying earlier. More often these days we're seeing gateway expand. Don't want to give Zergs even the opportunity to try and go 973. And there goes the hatchery at the natural. So everything is somewhat standard. Only thing that's a little bit unstandard is the 9 pool instead of the over pool. Now Zealot did move out, and I always love the move out from Protoss players. Just keep Zerg in the dark a little bit. Maybe the Zealot went to mid right, maybe it went to mid left. You don't know, because the Overlord can't see it anymore. We see that it did just move out and then just turn around. The Snow is going to plug that hole with 1 Zealot and 1 Probe on the side, and now these Lings really can't deal any damage. Now spawning or Extractor is already done, and he's already mined 40 to 50 gas. So actually this is a very, very fast gas, and this might just be a Speedling all-in. It could be fast lair, but I actually think this is going to be speed. Nope, it is just going to be lair. So it is going to be standard lair follow-up, but this was a much faster gas timing than 230. So to open 9 pool and then also get lair this fast, this is really going to hurt Hero's Econ. It's really going to be lacking. So this might just be a Muta all-in, try and catch Snow off guard. Snow is one of those players that does go for a lot of Zealots. He may end up skipping the Stargate, but I think that that would be very risky to do that. Now back in the main of Snow, I'm waiting for him to get gas. There's still no gas just yet. We do have Nexus coming down, Cannon coming up also. He did see that the lair had started, so there's no real threat of Masslings coming in. But I do think that this so far is lining up for like a Muta-Ling bust, or just flat out tons of Mutas trying to bust the main. Now Snow's going to see this layer complete, and he should recognize that, hey man, this seems like a pretty fast layer for going 9 pool. There's going to be instant Spire. And you notice that he doesn't even send out a Zealot or anything across the map to look for a third hatch, because he knows there's no third hatch. And here come those 4 Zealots. Looks like there are 4 Zealots versus about 12 Lings, so this should be more than enough to hold. But this is a very good pressure from Snow. He may end up losing all of his Zealots here because they feel like they're a bit overextended. Maybe not. So far, he has kept them alive. Back in the main, the Cybernetics has just now finished. Spire is halfway done, so he needs to scramble to get up a Stargate if that's what he's going to go for. It looks like he is, because the gas is coming down at the natural right now. I love the hold position on the bridge right here, making sure that he trades as effectively as possible. He knows that he can't save these Zealots, so he needs to just trade as best he can. Stargate does come down. Zealots are doing a good job. Hero not controlling his Lings the best. None of the Lings attacking from the backside at all, so that just gives Snow a free kill on these Lings. He actually saves 3 of the Zealots, and he's just going to waltz into the Nat now. There's nothing there. Because of how many Lings he had to build, he doesn't have gas at his Nat. He's not even building Mutas right now. He's got money for them. He's actually building Scourge. Oh man, this feels like just a disaster for Snow, or for Hero. He's got his Spire so fast, but he doesn't need his Spire so fast because the Stairs aren't even out. So this move out literally just probably won the game for Snow. The Econ is completely shot from Hero. You can see that he's desperately trying to get up 4 hatches at bottom left, but these 2 Zealots might actually deny bottom left. Look at the stutter step micro from this 1 Zealot. Ends up picking off 1 Ling. It's going to go down, but another Zealot ends up moving across the map, and when he gets here and sees that there's no mining here and that another hatch is coming up and that this one just popped, I don't think Snow really feels like there's any chance of him losing this game. He's already got his Citadel done. He's already got Corsairs coming out. He's got a cannon in his main too. So Muta attacking the main isn't going to work. We know that Hero doesn't even have the econ for that. And it looks like Snow suspected that it was going to be a Muta all-in also because of the fast cannon. And Hero recognizes that, hey, a Muta all-in isn't going to work anymore. So he is just droning behind this. But this probe comes in, sees that drones are being built. And now that he sees that drones are being built, he knows that he could just go for a timing. I expect to see 2 to 3 more gateways come down pretty soon. I'm actually surprised that I don't see speed. Instead, it is just going to be a DT follow-up. These are going to be a couple more gates coming in pretty soon. He's got +1 weapon just now started. A couple more zealots are going to move out. +1 armor for the Zerg, so he is setting up for going into the late game. He does not want to get popped by a bunch of stairs. But the econ is just a travesty for Hero right now. You can see he's actually building up his drone count pretty decently. It's 41 to 31 right now. He's doing a really good job to catch up. But I just don't think it's enough. Oh my god, 6 gateways going up all at once for Snow. You really thought, I think he really thought that this was a Muta all-in. So he made sure to prioritize building these stairs, making sure he can't die. And now that he saw the drones, he's like, well, you can't do this. I know you don't have any econ. So now he just floods the gates. He's got speed coming in. He's going to go from 2 zealots to about 20 zealots in about 2 minutes. So about 10:30 is when I expect him to move out. He's going to have +1 weapon by then. He's already got 1 Templar out. He does have Storm researching too. So even if he doesn't have multiple Storms, okay, he is going to be building a couple more Templar. He's going to have 3 Templar. I don't even think he needs the Storms really. Oh, DT almost goes in there and swipes a few drones. But Hero's recovering quite well. He's got +1 weapon going up himself. It should line up for when Protoss wants to move out. Storm's about to finish. Speed's about to finish. Only got 4 zealots though. So this is probably going to be one more cycle after this and it's going to be go time. Or it might just be this cycle is go time. There's going to be about 10 zealots, 3 Templar. They all have energy. Zerg does have a decent amount of Hydras. It looks like there's about 15 here. He does have range. +1 weapon is about 70% of the way along. He's got 15 more Hydras over here. So actually a decent amount of Hydras out in the map for Hero right now. He actually recovered quite well. To be at 70 supply versus 90 after such an abysmal opener, especially losing all those lings, he's macroed fantastically. Now Snow also has 5 Sayers, so he's got to be Hero's got to be very careful. Any engagement, he may win a fight, but if he loses all of his Sayers, he's going to be blocked, or loses all of his Overlords, he's going to be blocked, and we know that Snow has 8 gate. So he's going to be able to replenish his army extremely quickly. Ooh, Sayers! Only one of them actually fell to those 8 or so Scourge, so that was actually very nicely done from Snow to keep those 4 alive. And there's the block I was talking about. Here come the Zealots, but that's going to be a bunch of Zealots bleeding out, and mid-left might actually get busted, but there's not that many Zealots remaining, so that should get cleaned up pretty easily. And actually Hero's going to hold this attack. I also noticed that there was no Templars in that fight, so it looks like he just wants to bank up the energy. He's got 4 of them, maybe waiting for double Storm on each of them to go for a really big attack. But again, Hero keeping the supply relatively close, 95 to 75. He's got his 6th hatch coming up. He's got +1 weapon now, so he's matching the upgrades of the Protoss player. Robotics and Observatory coming in for Snow. He's pumping out those goons, so he's going to have a more cohesive army as opposed to just having Mass Zealot. Be able to deal a lot of damage with the goons from the back. He's already got 6 of them. I'm not sure if they have range just yet. No, yeah, no range. So the Hydras actually could win that fight, but there's so many Templars there that he is just going to be careful and not risk not risk taking a bad engagement. Another Stair gets picked off by the Scourge. And somehow, Hero is coming back. I don't know how he did it. He's got more workers than Snow 2. 44 to 43. Snow, he's under no threat of dying with all these Templars. There's also no Muta Switch for Hero. Oh, actually there is the Muta Switch, so actually there is a big threat of him dying now. Remember, 9 is the number to one-shot Templar, so it looks like he's going to have exactly enough. There's about 9 being built. There's 3 right there, 4. Looks like there's about 2 more, so he's only got 6 right now, but here comes Snow. Okay, he's not going to take that fight. He would have had all these Hydras all bunched up. A Storm would have been immaculate right there, but instead he's just going to reposition around the side. More units streaming across the map for Snow. Now this is a lot of Hydras, but there's no Lurkers here, and I think, oh well, there's 120 to versus 120. That's a whiff of a Storm. Remember, he's got so many of them though. He's got like 6 or 7. Those are 2 good Storms right there. Now he's supply blocked, and this is what I was mostly worried about. The Mutas, where are they? They're not able to pick off any of the Templars. Hydras are just getting blanketed by Storm. Another big Storm right there. Here come the Mutas, but they come in after all the Storms have been used. 3 Mutas get, oh god, all of the Mutas just eat Storms, and Snow takes an easy victory over Hero. The supplies were so close, yet Hero unable to take a good engagement there. The Hydras just got blanketed, and the Mutas got blanketed, and that's going to be GG. So Snow's going to take our final game. And what a decisive win from him. Actually, Hero played very well after the early stages of the game. His econ was really in shambles. But that is going to be it for our Castro show match. If you would like to donate to Castro's family, there is going to be a link below this video that you can donate. And that's going to be it. Thank you for watching.